of time.
O'clock.
How about now?
How about now? Got a sound?
How about now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Just like the Verizon guy?
Okay. Should be good. Should be good now.
I think, yeah.
Sound of silence, I said.
Okay, now.
Okay,
Okay,
all right,
yeah.
got it now.
I saw that it was like...
Right, we
turned
had
off.
some stuff unplugged in here when the light was fucked up, and evidently somehow the audio got fucked up.
Yeah.
But it should be good
Light was
now.
fucked up. The sound was fucked up.
Yeah.
I didn't do it. You did it.
She got to blame me. See,
Well, no, it was
she's
you.
blaming- Yeah,
It
well,
was
I did
you.
it, but just you know. Just,
So I have every right to blame you because
that's how it goes, you know.
you
That's
did
how
it.
it is.
I'm not going around unplugging things willy
Today
nilly.
we're going to do Halloween murders. Two of them. Two cuties got killed on Halloween.
Yeah, on or around Halloween.
Hopefully we can get both the cases done. I don't know how big the cases are.
I mean, yeah, I would hope so. Like I said, both of these cases, they're not related to each other. I just picked both of them because they both happened like right around Halloween or on Halloween. Also, both of them quite high profile for different reasons. Also, both of them, and I didn't actually know this going in, but both of them kind of sort of involve possible alleged wrongful conviction. Although I'm not real sure about where I stand on that. One case I think I'm more sure than the other, but we'll get into that. So the cases we're going to be talking about are a case from 1975, which is the murder of Martha Moxley, which possibly involved a Kennedy cousin, nephew, depending on who it is you're talking about. So like I said, 1975. And the other one is the murder of Teresa Halbach, which happened in 2005 and was the basis for the very, very popular Netflix docuseries Making a Murderer, where they tried to kind of put across the theory that the guy that was convicted of the murder, Steven Avery, was innocent or was framed or whatever, which, like I said, I'm not entirely sure I believe that for various reasons, but we'll get into that. You know what I mean? Like I said, I'm not investigator on the case or anything like that. I have my own kind of opinions about it, but they're not super strong opinions. You know what I mean? It could go either way. So we'll get into that.
Get in on that.
What?
We were going to eat before the show, but it wasn't ready in time.
It wasn't ready in time.
It'll be ready. It's got some beef stew down there.
So I had to cram a
it'll
cake
be
in
ready.
my mouth or something.
Cake. I had to get eating some oatmeal, instant oatmeal. So we're going to be drinking on an empty stomach. We get too fucked up. Tammy's in there already saying, well, we can get this shit done. Tom doesn't start sidetracking the show. She's always got to try to guilt trip me, but all the funny shit she remembers about the show is shit me sidetracked.
Well, I do like your input on the show. Like, as long as we don't go off on, like, unrelated tangents.
Depends on how drunk I am, whether or not I'm wearing a wig. I haven't put a wig on
You haven't
in a long
worn
time.
a wig in a long time. I don't even know what you're talking about.
I haven't been pissed off enough. To
Probably some people that are in here now.
Yeah.
It's been so long that they
don't even know.
They don't even know that you used to put wigs on.
I haven't put a wig on in probably a year, maybe more. I used to get fucking so fucked up, and sometimes so pissed off, I put on a wig. I had all different kind of wigs. Put on one of Jenny's wigs. Jenny's got a shit ton of wigs. I put a wig on.
Well, you have a couple too. You have like a long black one, and
yeah.
You had one
metal wigs.
You had one that kind of looked like Willy Wonka / Michael Caine because you used it for a Halloween costume when you were Michael Caine from the.
When I'm feeling really pretty, I put that big old long black one on.
When you're feeling really pretty,
you
should wear that out one day. That would be really
pull that
fun.
shit out, man. I get heavy metal like crazy on that.
Yeah,
shit.
you look like you're in fucking.
Look like I'm fucking like I'm the least. Look like I'm in Danzig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tammy says, now, Tom, I got to mess with you. I haven't brought up pegging for a while. That's
I know,
true.
man.
She hasn't. That's true.
All these girls had this fantasy of Jen pegging me and shit. It's been an ongoing fucking joke of the show, you know. They're trying to raise money to get it done. It says, you give me motorcycle level money, maybe I work something out. We're talking Harley Davidson type money, you know what I mean? Harley Davidson. We're not talking about a Sportster either, man. Fucking. Then you go to a bike meet. I go to a fucking bike meet, and they go, "Oh yeah, that's a cool fucking Dyna. That's the one you got pegged for." You know, that'd be fucking funny.
You'd have to get famous for that. You'd have to get a really cool bike, like
showing up with fucking chaps and shit.
Yeah, with your little
chaps and fucking
my
little fucking bikini.
Out. So everybody knows how you got that bike.
Yeah, my little boxer shorts on underneath that, little tight boxer shorts.
Lots of dudes like getting pegged by their Wes. It's not weird.
Fucking homos. Okay, you want me to let me put some ice in that for you?
I already did, but it kind of melted.
Well, it's because it's not real cold.
Oh yeah, that's true. That soda's not that cold because you got it not too long ago. It's been in the fridge, but it hasn't been in there that long. So yeah, so hopefully, like I said, I think I've gone through the notes enough because both of these cases, I mean, honestly, just like a lot of true crime cases are, like super, super complicated. So it's like I didn't want to go too much into like little minutia and stuff. I did watch a couple other true crime shows, like particularly about the Making a Murderer one, the Teresa Halbach one, and some of those were like really went into, because there's still like a huge, I feel like there's still like a big divide between people that think Steven Avery is innocent and people that think he's guilty, and I don't even know if it's ever going to be resolved. And the thing about it is that, I mean, in his case, he and his cousin, who also allegedly participated, are still in prison, whereas the guy in the first case is out, although he did spend a lot of time in prison. But there was a lot of controversy about that too. I think I'm kind of more, I don't know. We'll get into that like as time goes on. But yeah, like I said, I don't know, because Tom was just like, well, we can't get too fucked up, because I didn't know if you know, but tomorrow we're going to Animal Kingdom, Disney's Animal Kingdom.
Disney Animal Kingdom.
With my sister, because she's down from Atlanta, and so we're going to go meet her at the park, and we have to be there at like 9 in the morning, and it's like an hour away.
Her sister's like a Disney queen. She's got passes to all of them.
She comes
Everything goes all the time. She doesn't even live here.
Several times a year. Well, she used to, obviously, but she lives in Atlanta now, so like 2 or 3 times a year she comes down and spends a week.
Hangs out in the parks for a fucking
and goes to all the parks, and you know what I mean. And like I said, and sometimes my brothers go, sometimes my mom goes. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's all kind of like family.
I've never been to Animal Kingdom.
I've been, but it's a long time ago.
Is it like Lion Country Safari where you drive your car through it?
You can't drive your car, but you get in Jeeps and they take you through the thing. There's other stuff to look at. Like I don't even know if I'd call it a zoo, but it's like a huge safari park.
It's a safari park, yeah.
Yeah,
they're not really a zoo, yeah.
But I remember it being real. I think there's some rides, but not that many. That's like not really the focus.
How long does it take to see it?
It's smaller than the other ones, but I don't really remember. Like I said, I haven't been there I think I went there like a year after they first opened, which was a long time ago.
It can't be one park. It's probably divided up into different areas, right?
Yeah, they all are.
Yeah, okay, because you can't mix all those animals together
to
eat one another, right? Yeah.
Like I said, all the main thing is kind of the big, long safari thing that you go through. And, like, they put you in these big Jeeps and you drive through the... I don't know. I don't remember. Like I said, it's been such a long time. I meant to like check today and be like, because I haven't been there in so long.
Yeah, and it's cooled down, so the air conditioning doesn't count as much.
Yeah, that's.
It doesn't because it's summertime. It's so fucking hot.
Yeah, it's actually supposed to be pretty pleasant tomorrow. Yeah. So, because I was looking.
It'll be Thursday, so it won't be real super busy.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of hoping, and that's kind of one of the. I mean, my sister. That's out of all the Disney parks. That's her favorite one.
All right.
She's like, it's a lot chiller, you know.
Yeah.
You can just walk around and look at the animals, and it's like pretty cool. You know what I mean? So, and like I said, I wanted to go because I haven't been in a long time. Expensive as fuck, but you know what I mean. What are you gonna do? Everything is nowadays.
Yeah, we paid for it already.
Yeah, I already paid for it. I got the little pass on my phone. Camp, I said it's a great park. Lots of rides too. Yeah, I didn't remember a lot of rides, but it's been. I'm sure they built a lot since I was there. And Tom's never been.
No.
So I thought it'd be kind of fun because, like I said, usually I would go with her to the Disney Halloween party, but that was Tuesday night and it was sold out. So I was like, let's go to Animal Kingdom because.
And I'm not a fan of the main Disney theme park. I just grew up with that shit. That shit's so old. And it's just so fucking tame, and the rides aren't.
I think you'll like Animal Kingdom because, like I said, you can't go wrong with fucking animals, right?
Oh no, you can't go wrong with animals.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So I've been wanting to go back there, you know.
My favorite one is
because I went to Epcot.
Universal. Universal.
Because I went to Epcot last year when they were here.
Universal's got badass roller coasters, high tech shit, high tech fucking ride and broom. Although they changed that ride, it's not as cool as it used to be. It used to be you actually got on a broom.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, when it first opened, that's how I remember it.
No, we didn't. You didn't get on a broom. It was in a long.
Was it?
It's a long car with like a bunch of people like that.
I thought I was on by myself.
Nope.
When we went there with Mini Me.
Nope.
It wasn't a broom?
Nope.
Why do I remember it that way?
I don't know. That's not the way it was. It's just, it's a long car like that.
Okay.
With like different seats. And you just hang there and your feet hang loose.
Yeah, your feet hang loose.
But it's not a broom.
It's not a broom?
No. You're on there with...
It's one person after another, right?
I don't think it's one. It's either 2 or 4. I can't remember.
Okay. Yeah, I do remember my feet were hanging.
Yeah.
But I thought it was supposed to simulate that you're riding on a broom.
Yeah, it's simulating that.
Yeah.
But you're not on an
You're
actual
not on a broom. Yeah,
No.
you're not really on a broom. Yeah, I didn't mean that in that way.
Yeah.
That you were actually on a broom.
Yeah.
You were sitting on a cart with your feet dangling, and they made you think you were riding a broom, flying around and shit.
Yeah.
And it was mostly just virtual wind and fucking 3D projection screens around you, and it fools your senses into believing that you're actually like on flying around on, you know, it's a roller coaster like experience. And I don't think you're moving very fast, but you don't know.
No, you're not, but it doesn't, they make it seem like, I mean, it's a lot cheaper for them, I guess, because they can just do the whole reenactment like on big screens or whatever, and just let your brain do
your brain,
shit.
it fools your brain into
you know what I mean?
thinking that all that shit happened.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah, Grunter said, yeah, these parks cost them was $200 per. Yeah, it's different prices for different days. I think when I bought the tickets like a few weeks ago, I think it was $150 each or something. You know what I mean? And you still got to eat and you got to pay to park and all that kind of crap, but that's okay. It's just once a year. We might go again at Christmas because I think my mom's gonna pay, but we'll see. All right, so let's you want to get into these cases before we get too distracted by other things, and I won't ever get through it.
Who's here?
And then I'll get mad at the end. You know what I mean?
Klaus is here.
Yeah, Grandpa said, my wife took my kids to Universal a couple years ago, and the credit card bill was $7,000 for the trip. Yeah, I mean, if you're coming down and doing the hotel and all that, yeah, it's like, and you got a bunch of kids, yeah, it's super expensive. Like, if you're just going for one day, and you usually get a discount if you're a Florida resident, you know, I'm not staying in the hotels or anything like that. And my sister has like passes, so she just buys an annual pass every year, so it's a lot cheaper for her. You know what I mean? She likes to stay in a different resort every single time because she wants to try them all out. Because there's like a bajillion different resorts you can stay at. CB says, who was the guy in Canada that wanted to be Jason Voorhees and dress like him when he killed his victims? I don't know. I never heard of that. Although, I will say that on, I believe, HBO Max, there's a series on there called The Friday the 13th Murders. And I haven't watched it, but I keep seeing the promo for it. And now I'm wondering, it's a series, and I think it's about several different cases that happened to happen on Friday the 13th. So now I'm wondering if that was where they got the idea from. I don't know. I'll have to watch it one time and find out. I'll have to watch it sometime and find out.
Official Gaming said that living in Orlando, they should give you those passes for cheap. They used to.
Well, you do get a discount.
Yeah, I remember.
Actually, anywhere, if you live anywhere in Florida, if you can prove that you live in Florida, you get money off.
Yeah, I remember there was something almost 15 years ago, though. If you lived in the Orlando area, you could pay like $100, I think, or $200 maybe, and you could go to the park all you wanted.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. They don't do. I don't think that was Disney that did that. I think some of the more struggling parks, like maybe SeaWorld and stuff, were doing that.
No, it was Disney.
But what you can do,
first moved here, that was
like nowadays they have a thing where if you're a Florida resident, you can pay for X amount of days, and then you get other days. Like you can do that, or like I said, what my sister does, and I think my brother does it too, is that you just buy an annual pass. You can't go like for some holidays, like there's some blackout dates and stuff. But
I think that was yeah.
But you can just go.
And you couldn't go on the holidays; it had to be on off days.
Yeah, usually. And like I said, now my brother, he worked at Animal Kingdom for a long time as a photographer, and so he got passes, and he got passes for like family members too, so he
Yeah.
could get people in for free.
You got people coming all around from all over the world to go see that park. But if you live here and you went on that, say, a couple times a year, you'd get sick of that real quick. I get sick of it quick after 6 hours of that shit. I'm like, let's get the fuck out of here.
Well, there's different shit to do, like I said, and there's a bunch of different parks and a bunch of different. It's different if you're coming. It is, and it's different if you're coming down. Because my sister likes to come down, like I said, stay in different resorts, eat at different restaurants.
Yeah, she's going to the restaurants.
Try out different, shows and different things, and a lot of the parks have like seasonal shit that they do too that is not all year round. Yeah. So she does that also. Like she came down for the Epcot, the Food and Wine Festival, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, if you came down just to do that, if you're an adult, you just want to do that, that's fine. It's just you get sick of the rides. I'd get sick of the rides.
She doesn't even really care about the rides.
Care about rides, yeah.
She just likes the whole experience.
Yeah.
She just comes down and goes to like all the parks, and like I said, she just likes trying out different places
Hotels
to eat, different shows, different shit.
They
like
do
that.
have some good restaurants in there.
They do, yeah. I have to look at Animal Kingdom what they got in there because I don't like it. It's been a million years since I've been.
Some of the restaurants are all you can eat.
Yeah. Well, we ate at one, but you didn't go that time. But it was me and my sister and my two brothers, and we went to the one at the what is that resort that's like tiki themed? I can't remember what the name of it is, but they have like a really quite famous restaurant there where you pay like $50 or $60 a person. Mm-hmm. And they just keep bringing you food. It's like a prefix menu. Yeah. But holy shit, it's delicious.
Yeah, it's $50.
And they'll just bring as much as you want.
Yeah.
You know
and
what I mean?
I guarantee you cannot
the
eat
Polynesian,
that much.
that's what it is.
Polynesian, yeah. You cannot eat that much.
No, well, my brothers can.
Yeah, your brother can. Those dudes can. But the average person, they make up.
I can't. But
they can't make up for the amount of people that don't eat.
Yeah.
I go to a Chinese buffet. I'm gonna put them out of business today. I'm fucking talking all kinds of shit. I'm gonna eat all this. 5 plates later, I'm like, I can't eat anymore.
Yeah.
I got 3 plates of nothing but just damn fucking beef last time I went.
Yeah, we went to Koi Wan last weekend.
Yeah, 3 plates.
I could eat literally. I ate a plate of like a couple.
Yeah.
I some fish and some beef and some veggies, and then I got a plate of like cold shrimp, and that was all I could eat.
Yeah, $25.
That was it.
All you can eat.
I can't eat any more than that.
Yeah.
I mean, I can, but I'll throw up.
Yeah, fuck that rice, noodles, and shit like that. Hell no, went right to beef and shrimp. I punished them for putting that shit out there. Hell no. But like I said, you can't eat that much.
No.
And I look around at what other people are eating and have big old piles of rice and shit. And they're like, I got your beef. Because that rice doesn't cost them anything.
Yeah, I mean, and they know that a lot of people
most people just
like get the rice and the noodles.
Yeah.
We don't ever do that. We just get meat and vegetables.
Protein.
Camp Guy said we did the character breakfast, all you can eat, with the characters all coming around to pose for pictures with the kids at the table at the Polynesian. It was great. Yeah, I've heard like that a lot of people really like that, especially if you have like a lot of kids. They get like real excited about it. But yeah. All right. So let's get started on this. Like I said, before we go off even more. Actually, we're going to do a sidetrack show on Friday night. Yeah. We'll have our Halloween costumes on because it'll be prior to us going to the Halloween
will
party.
Be here, and gender swapped Alex from fucking
Clockwork Orange.
Clockwork Orange will be here.
So we'll have a lot to talk about then because we'll have gone to Animal Kingdom, so we can talk about all the animals that we saw. Hopefully, I'll try to remember like take pictures because I tend to like get all. When I go to the parks, I'm like, and I'm having a good time, and I just forget to take my stupid phone out and take pictures, so... But I'll try to remember. You know what I mean? And my sister likes taking pictures, so she'll probably take a bunch, too. And I'll just ask her to send them to me. I don't know if my brother's going or not. I didn't ask. All right. So, let's start with the Martha Moxley case, because that happened earlier, and that's the first one that I have in my notes. So this case here was the one with possible alleged... Kennedy involvement, as in their last name isn't Kennedy, but they're like related to the Kennedy family, which we'll get into in a second. So Martha Moxley was a 15-year-old girl, and she was murdered in 1975. And when she was last seen alive, she was hanging out with a couple members of her own age, of boys from the Skakel family, who lived across the street from her. Now, this all happened in the very, very, very wealthy, exclusive neighborhood of Belle Haven in Connecticut. $1 million homes, whole thing. Like, very, very wealthy, very safe area. So the fact that this happened there, everyone kind of flipped out about it, obviously. Now, the Skakel family, who were accused of this, one of whom was accused of this, was actually the nephew of Ethel Skakel Kennedy, who was the widow of Robert F. Kennedy, the one that was assassinated in 1968. So that's what the relationship is.
I think I've heard of this case before because
yeah, it's pretty famous.
Pretty famous, yeah. That one of the Kennedys may have killed somebody. One of the Kennedy's kids killed this kid. This child.
Yeah, like I said, he was like a nephew.
Yeah.
Because their last name's Skakel, you know what I mean? Now, the kid that was, spoiler alert, later convicted, but he's out now, like for reasons we'll get into in a minute. He was also 15, the same age as the victim at the time that this happened. And they actually didn't convict him for the murder until many years later, like until 2002. And then there was like all this back and forth, like he was let out, he was put back in, he was let out, he's put back in, blah, blah, blah. But he's out again now. And they've decided, and I'm guessing they're not putting him back in because they've decided that it's like not worth pursuing. You know what I mean? So yeah. So that's kind of just a brief overview. So Martha Moxley was actually born in 1960. Now, she was not originally from Connecticut. She was actually from Piedmont, California. And grew up there with her parents, obviously, and her older brother. His name was John. So they had actually just moved to Belle Haven, Connecticut in 1974. So only like a year before she got murdered. Like I said, it's a very, very, very affluent area. You know, that's what, you know, extended Kennedys live there. Like it's big mansions and shit like that. Now, by all accounts, Martha Moxley, as soon as she arrived, became kind of the it girl, you know what I mean? She was very, very popular. She was really good in school. You know, she's a pretty blonde girl. You know, academically, you know, very good. She was straight A student, all this other kind of stuff. She was also an athlete. I believe she played basketball. And, you know, so, and everybody really seemed to love her. And she hung out with the Skakel boys, two of the Skakel boys that lived across the street. Michael, who was 15, and his older brother Tommy, who were 17. I believe there were 7 of the kids over there who were being, well, I want to say they're being raised by a single dad because their mom had died a couple years prior from cancer. But he wasn't really raising them, I guess, because he would just hire nannies and shit, and he would just give them money and be like, hey, just go do whatever you're going to do. Which, you know, not great because Michael Skakel in particular kind of ended up being a little bit of a tearaway, as a lot of these kind of like really wealthy teenagers seem to be, because they don't, you know, they have money, they don't have to worry about anything, and they get away with a lot of shit, you know what I mean? Which is arguably what happened in this case. So this whole thing, the murder went down on the night of October 30th, 1975, the night before Halloween. Which in this area, which I guess this is kind of a pretty common thing. We didn't do this, but I know a lot of other places that do. The night before Halloween is always called Mischief Night. And they would kind of go out and do pranks, you know what I mean? So open people's windows, throwing eggs at their houses, toilet paper in their trees, shit like that. Now, I think when I was a kid, you did that on Halloween night. But I guess in some places you do that the night before. And it's called Mischief Night. I have heard of that, but I never did that. I never egged anybody's house, but I knew people that did. But you just did it on Halloween night, I thought. But so it's a Mischief Night, and she kind of wants to hang out with her friends and do all the pranks, like all her friends are doing, which apparently was a big thing to do in this neighborhood, you know what I mean? And everyone, it seemed like no one was mad about it. They were just kind of like, you know, just let the kids be kids, put the toilet paper in the trees, whatever. It's only some minor property damage after all. You know what I mean? So they didn't really, you know, they'd be like ding dong ditch and all that kind of crap. Now, so at this little party where they're all hanging out together, because like I said, her and the Skakel boys like lived right across the street from each other, like on this little enclave where they lived. And according to the other friends that were there hanging out, they said that Martha kind of started flirting with Tommy Skakel, the older one. He was 17 and she was 16, or 15 rather. Which I guess they'd been kind of flirting back and forth for a long time, because they have her diary, which, you know, you can read a lot of it if you, it's online. And I don't know if she necessarily had a crush on him, but there was kind of some back and forth kind of shit going on. And some of the friends said that they were kind of like making out, and then they saw them kind of like fall on each other, like behind this fence or whatever, in this backyard, like by the Skakel's pool. And this was about 9:30 p.m., according to everyone that saw them. Now, not too long after this, Martha disappeared. And because she did not arrive home, she hadn't arrived home by 4 a.m. And her mom, understandably, was freaking out because, you know, she said she's very responsible. She would never, I mean, they were just hanging out in the neighborhood. They weren't going anywhere, you know what I mean? And she's like, she would have called, she would have shown up, you know what I mean? It's like, that's not like her to like be out all night. So it's 4 a.m, and her mom, whose name was Dorothy, started calling all her friends. They don't know where, they're like, I don't know, man, we just saw her at 9:30, and then like we just kind of dispersed, and they didn't really see her after that. So she just kept, you know, it's getting like more and more toward morning, and she's starting to flip out even more because obviously her daughter's not back yet. So she starts calling around to everybody she knows, and none of them have seen her. Now, finally, one of the friends says, you know, she was hanging out with Tommy Skakel the previous night. So she goes across the street to the Skakel's house, you know, kind of earlier that morning. Now, Michael Skakel, the 15-year-old, he answers the door and says, oh, I don't know what happened to her. I haven't seen her. And she said that he looked kind of like hungover. You know what I mean? He's 15. As we'll see, he actually had a pretty bad alcoholism problem starting when he was 13. So yeah, probably not a shocker that he was probably hungover.
Drinking at 13.
And he later admitted that he'd been really fucking inebriated on that night too. Now, so obviously everybody in the neighborhood, all her friends and stuff like that, come out and start looking for her. And not long after noon on Halloween, one of her friends finds her body. And she is laying kind of under this big tree, like a pine tree, which was just like at the edge of her own property, like her own family's property. These are big, like I said, these are big mansion type houses with big acreage. So they didn't see her initially, but when they kind of spread out and started looking for her, they found her body like under this tree. Now, her pants and underwear were pulled down, but they later found that there was no sexual assault that they could determine. Now, she had been killed by being bludgeoned and subsequently stabbed with a golf club. Somebody had beat her in the head. They said her head, just her skull was just a mess. They said you couldn't even barely recognize her. They had beaten her in the head with the skull so hard
with the golf
that the golf club had broken.
Okay, yeah.
And then they had used the broken end of it to shove it into her neck. Is what had happened.
She was alive when that happened?
I don't know. I would doubt it. I imagine they probably just bludgeoned it, and when it broke, just... Yeah. I mean, that to me, and to the investigators, obviously, that signified rage. You know what I mean? That's... Because if you're beating on somebody like that, and then the shit breaks, because you're beating on them so hard, and then you're like, fuck it, and just stuck it into her neck like that, yeah, you're mad.
That's some wild shit.
Yeah. So, like I said, they were all just hanging out on the night before Halloween, and then they just found her like that the next morning. I can't imagine. And just, like, at the fucking edge of her own property, like her own family's property, just right there under a tree.
There was no sexual assault?
No. Like I said, her pants and stuff were pulled down, but they said they couldn't determine...
That might have just been from all that fucking fighting.
Yeah, they said it might have been because of a struggle or something like that. Or somebody might have done that just for other reasons, which we'll get into in a bit.
Yeah.
Now, interestingly, and to me, this is a pretty definitive... Okay, so the golf club that they found, pretty quickly, investigators were able to match it to another, it's a brand called, I guess, Tony Penna golf club. And the golf club was a 6-iron, and it had come from the Skakel household. And in fact, it had come from a set of golf clubs belonging to their late mother. They actually found that one was missing, and the pieces that they found matched the ones that were in the golf bag. So obviously, that was where the golf club had come from, inside the Skakel house. Now, because Tommy Skakel, the 17-year-old, was the last person seen with Martha by, several witnesses, they had seen them kind of making out or whatever at around 9:30 at night. They picked him up like he was kind of the prime suspect at first. So they questioned him, and he said his initial story was that that he had last seen Martha about 9:30 outside his house, like they were kind of making out a little bit, and then he said goodnight to her, and then went inside and watched a movie, The French Connection, actually, with the family's new tutor, whose name was Kenneth Littleton, who I believe was about 23 years old. They had just hired him that day, like he had just come there that day. And so the two of them were supposedly watching a movie in the living room after he bid her goodnight at 9:30. He then said that he went to his room to work on a school project, which was specifically a school report about Abraham Lincoln. Now, interestingly, the cops did follow up on this, and none of the teachers at Tommy's school said that they had assigned any such paper, so they thought that was a little fishy. They did give a polygraph to Tommy, and he passed it, so they kind of dismissed him as a suspect initially. Now, they also looked into Kenneth Littleton, the tutor, because he was also, around in the area, at the time of the murder. And he had just arrived there that day. Now, so they looked into him, and they gave him a polygraph too, and it was kind of inconclusive, or he sort of failed it. But the thing about it was that he had only just arrived there and had never met Martha Moxley, and they thought that probably he had no reason to kill her, especially in such a brutal fashion. Not saying it's impossible, but they were just kind of probably not. You know what I mean? There really wasn't any motive there. So they never charged him either. Now, when they did kind of, the autopsy, they were trying to determine what time she had died. They figured that she had probably been bludgeoned from behind at first, because it was mostly back here, the back of her head. And it probably happened about 10 p.m., but they weren't, they couldn't pin it down, definitively, but they were maybe around then. They're not really sure. So then they started questioning Michael, the 15-year-old. And we're where were you at around 10 p.m. or whatever? Now, Michael says that he had left his house about 9:15, got in his car, and he went to his cousin's house, which was, a fair distance away. And he had gone there specifically to watch the U.S. premiere of Monty Python's Flying Circus, which was just starting on American television in 1975. So he apparently went over to his cousin's to watch that. And then after it was over, he said he came back to his house at 11 p.m., which would seem to put him out of the timeline of the murder. Now, because there was not much physical evidence, because, everybody kind of had alibis that sort of halfway, half-assed checked out, they couldn't really charge anyone with the crime. So it kind of went cold for a while, for a couple decades at least. And because it was such a high-profile case, because, two Kennedy nephews had been interviewed about it, the media was kind of all over it, and a bunch of people wrote books about it too. There was one by Dominic Dunn who wrote kind of a fictional one, but that was obviously based on it, and it was called A Season in Purgatory. Mark Furman wrote one called Murder in Greenwich, and there was another one called A Wealth of Evil, which is by Timothy Dumas, or however you pronounce his last name. So it was a big deal, like I said, because not only it happened in this super, super wealthy area, but also there was possibly Kennedys involved. Now, it kind of went cold for a while, like I said. But then, remember back in, if you were alive in 1991, do you remember back in 1991 when another Kennedy family member, William Kennedy Smith, was tried for rape. I kind of remember it. I remember seeing his face on TV and stuff. I mean, I was only a year out of high school at that point. He was eventually acquitted. But when the trial was going on, rumors started to circulate that he had actually been at the Skakel house the night that Martha Moxley was murdered. So people thought, oh, well, he's a rapist. Maybe he had something to do with this or whatever. Now, they later found out that he wasn't there. Like, you know, they figured he was somewhere else and they could prove it. But that rumor circulating kind of spurred investigators to reopen the cold case and see if they could fucking solve it at this point. Also, this is kind of, I don't know if I'd say funny. It's just kind of like ironic. So, Rushton Skakel, the boy's father, he obviously believed that his kids were innocent, so he decided he was going to hire his own private investigator to kind of get to the bottom of things. Unfortunately, for him, it sort of ended up maybe casting even more suspicion on them because of like some of the shit they found out. You know what I mean? Mostly on Michael, but kind of a little bit on Tommy too, because neither of them were super honest. Let's put it that way. So he hires these investigators called the Sutton Associates, and they did their own investigation in 1991, and their findings are now known as the Sutton Report. And through the course of their investigation, they actually re-interviewed both Michael and Tommy Skakel and discovered that both of them had lied to the police back in the day, like when the murder occurred. Now, Tommy Skakel, the older one, he said, well, I know I said that it was 9:30 when I last saw Martha before, but actually it was kind of closer to 10 o'clock. He said that we were actually kind of, I think the phrasing he used was engaging in mutual masturbation. I'd say out in the yard, I don't really know, or in the car, I don't really know. And I guess he hadn't wanted to tell anybody that. So he was actually with her like a lot closer to the time of her death than he had stated. He was apparently going to say more, but he started like crying and shit, and his lawyer was like, you know, zip it. Like, don't say anymore. You know what I mean? You're maybe gonna implicate yourself. Oh, we got a super chat from Klaus.
From Klaus?
From Klaus, yeah.
Thanks, Klaus.
Thank you very much.
What do you say?
Awesome as always. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So yeah, probably.
I'm getting suspicious of this guy.
Well, wait a second.
Yeah. All right.
Now, Michael, the younger one, he said that what had happened with him was that he had, I believe, did go to his cousin's house. But then when he came home, at first he said, oh, he just came home at 11 o'clock and went straight to bed. Now he said, no, I didn't actually go straight to bed. I climbed a tree outside of the Moxley household and jerked off. I don't know if he was looking in her window, or I've heard reports that said he thought it was her window, but it was actually her brother's window.
So he's jerking off on her brother.
I don't really know.
That's funny.
You know what I mean? And actually, I'm kind of picturing something else, which I'll get to in a bit, because of something else that he allegedly said to a friend later on, that I think he was just using this to kind of cover, but I'm not sure. Now, because at the time that Martha Moxley was murdered, obviously in 1975, you didn't have DNA or anything like that. But by the 1990s, you know, it was in fairly common use. Not as good as nowadays, but, you know, they were still using it. Now, allegedly, Michael later told his friends that he had jerked off on her dead body. And now they're wondering if the reason that he said that specifically was that maybe he was worried that his DNA would be on her clothes or something like that. And then that would be like, oh, I didn't kill her, but I just saw her dead there and I got like real fucking hot and bothered about it and just decided to jerk off.
That sounds very unlikely.
Yeah, it does sound very unlikely. So they're speculating that maybe that's why. That's why he said that later, because he hadn't said anything about jerking off in a tree or anything like that when the murder first happened. That was like a later.
Off a tree and the wind blew it. And it blew it down. And it landed on her. I don't know what. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. I didn't kill her.
Yeah, it's very fishy.
That's a good lie. Yeah, I was up in a tree and the wind caught it.
And it just blew it away.
Panspermia.
That's what it was. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Panspermia. The panspermia theory.
Hell yeah, panspermia.
I was jerking off in a tree and it blew onto the dead body.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised that nobody has used that. Well, that I know of. Yeah. I mean, other than this guy, he's not saying that it blew on her. I don't think. And honestly, it might be. I think there's a different scenario happen here, but I'm just trying to. I'm going with his story. Is it perhaps that he was in the tree jerking off because she was found under a tree? Yeah. Was he in that tree?
Maybe that tree. Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe he climbed. Maybe.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I don't.
Imagine
know.
some chick. She's trying to sue you for paternity, and you go, "It wasn't me. I never had sex with that woman. It was panspermia."
Yeah.
She must have just sat down on my bed sheets.
And it just like wiggled its way up in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or, I was just, like you said, it was a real windy day. And I was jerking off outside and it just blew.
Yeah.
And then some girl was like nude sunbathing.
Yeah.
In her lawn next door. And it just blew right into her pussy.
It was Florida during hurricane season. I let the shit fly to the four winds. And it fucking like that. And she happened to be walking by. I saw her and it hit her. And then she looked at me and went, "You motherfucker." And then she comes up pregnant and she's blaming me. I didn't do it. It was an accident.
That's it. I mean,
I never had sex with that woman.
Yeah, that's about as far fetched as that sounds.
Yeah. Let's see if the jury buys that.
I mean, that's kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
So
she stole it from me. That kind of thing.
Yeah, she came in my house while I was sleeping and jerked me off into a cup.
Yeah.
And then inserted it.
No, I jerked off into a condom and threw it into a fucking waste basket next to the bathroom.
I've seen that in a movie.
She saw that and took it.
I've seen that in a movie.
Yeah, she took it. Yeah.
And then just
that'd be a good lie.
Yeah.
I don't think people would believe it though.
No, probably not. Yeah. I bet you there's at least one dude that's tried to use that, like in a paternity case.
She set me up.
Yeah, she just saw some condom I jerked off in. Who jerks off into a condom anyway? I guess some people do. Like
she found a condom underneath my bed from the girl before her. Yeah. And she took it.
And then she just inserted it. Yeah. With a turkey base.
She knew it was mine.
I'm not saying that's impossible, but I mean,
she just stuffed it in there and turned it inside out.
It doesn't really last that long.
Yeah.
So I mean, you'd have to be like right there. You know what I mean?
I think it would last a few hours
to get that to work.
It lasts a few hours.
Well, that's what I mean. But you don't have a pretty small window of time. Yeah. Like it can be like the next day or something. I don't think that's gonna work out for you. If you ever think about doing this.
Says, "My God, I'm dying."
Why would you want to do that anyway?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go to some random chode's house and just be like, "Oh, look, semen."
Yeah.
I know what to do with that.
Got these lesbian army veteran soldiers in there laughing about semen and panspermia. Yeah, that's right, SideQuest. If that shit was a reality, you'd have come out of service totally fucking pregnant. You know that's not a reality. All those dudes jerking it around you all the time.
There's
the whole fucking barracks jerking it.
Jizz flying everywhere.
And you came out of there unscathed. Lesbian intact. Intact, yeah.
But what we're trying to say is, that's a pretty stupid fucking story. Okay. It's weird enough to admit, he didn't admit to the police. He allegedly said to his friend, he admitted to the private investigators later that he had been jerking off in a tree. He didn't say he killed her, he didn't say anything like that. But allegedly, he might have said to some friends of his that he had jerked off on her dead body.
Yeah.
But I don't know why you tell people that, but okay.
He was afraid they were going to find a DNA on her.
They didn't,
yeah.
But he might have been trying to, kind of do an end run about that, in case they did. He's like, oh, yeah, about that. You know what I mean?
Wonder where the load went.
I don't know, man.
Because if the pants were pulled down, he might have jerked it around on her fucking booty, let that shit sit on her booty like that.
Yeah.
But you'd think they'd find it. Dried up old snail trail.
Yeah, as far as I know, they didn't find any DNA on her.
Neighborhood dog ran by and saw that, went, licked it up and ran off.
Yeah, it's like you could come up with all
shit
kind
like
of
that,
fucking stupid stories. You know?
Yeah.
Don't even try.
Oh, man.
Like, I mean, don't do this shit in the first place. But it's like, if you do it, just do us all a favor. Don't come up with some stupid fucking story. No one's going to believe that. Come on now. Have a little respect for other people's intelligence.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
If you find a dead body, don't jerk off on it.
I mean, that I feel like
that's
that.
rule number one.
That shouldn't have to be said.
If I have to tell you that, then
that shouldn't have to be said.
you need to go to prison.
But in this day and age, I'm not entirely sure. You might have to tell people that. You know, they might not be able to figure that out on their own. You know, and for those of you out there, it's just a pro tip. You know, as much as you might want to. I don't know, man. This
Todd is laughing lesbian at that. Yeah, that's right. That's right. SideQuest would have come out of there with like 5 kids. Uncle Sam would owe her all kinds of fucking child support.
Yeah.
That's what she said, yeah.
Yeah, Samantha says, I don't think he was smart enough to come up with that. It sounds like the lawyers. It very well might have been. Like, they're like, well, just in case, like, tell him this. It sounds bad, but it doesn't sound as worse. It doesn't sound as bad as, like, killing somebody, you know what I mean? So he had that story about it. But like I said, they didn't find any DNA on her anyway. So it was kind of like, why even say that? Now there were also 2, he had been, which I'll get into in a little bit because I kind of want to get into his troubled youth a little bit. He had been sent to this kind of, I guess it's sort of a reform school, kind of. But he'd been sent to this school, like afterward, and at least 2 other students claimed that he had admitted to them that he had killed her with a golf club. Now, one of these students, whose name was Gregory Coleman, said that Michael told him that he was given special privileges and that he had told him, quote, I'm going to get away with murder. I'm a Kennedy.
Yeah, I've heard this story before.
Yeah, like, so whether he said, I don't know. Like, but the friend said that he said that. And Coleman also said, he made a comment that he was trying to make advances toward this girl, and this girl was not complying with those advances, and he drove her skull in. Now, what happened with that was that Coleman actually didn't testify at the subsequent trial because he actually died of a heroin overdose in August 2001. Like I said, a lot of the students at the school, it was kind of a reform school. That's kind of where wealthy people sent their troubled teenagers, hence why Michael was there, which we'll get into in a little bit. But yeah, so he actually wasn't there to testify to that, but he did make a statement to that regard, like before he died. I've also heard that 6 months after the murder, Michael was talking to his barber, of all people. Man, they probably get to hear all the dirt. Barbers and fucking bartenders, you know what I mean? He actually said something about his brother, Tommy, and he said, I'm going to kill him. Why not? I've killed before. See, and that's kind of why a lot of people think that maybe he allegedly did kill Martha Moxley, because it seemed like he was into Martha and she was kind of maybe more into Tommy. Although, at least according to her journal, she didn't really like either one of them like that. But I think that, you know, I think in his trial later on, they were trying to say, you know, that night she was, according to all the friends, kind of making out with Tommy, and Michael might have gotten jealous because he wanted her and was mad because the brothers had like kind of a rivalry going on. So that might have given him some incentive to, you know, or motive to do it, and why he was like so angry, because whoever killed her, like I said, there was a lot of rage involved with all the beating and the stabbing and stuff like that. And he also allegedly said to the family chauffeur, must be nice, like to have a family chauffeur, you know what I mean? That, and this is according to the chauffeur, so you know what I mean? He said, I've done a terrible thing. You wouldn't speak to me again if you knew it. I have to kill myself or get out of the country. So he allegedly said all kind of like weirdly incriminating things, like to other people, at least according to these people, you know what I mean? Now, as I said earlier, there had been kind of a thing where, I mean, Martha was a popular girl. She didn't have a steady boyfriend or anything like that. She just seemed to like hang out, you know what I mean? Like a lot of people did in the 70s. And she seemed to like certain boys, but not super serious. She was only 15, you know what I mean? So they have all of her diaries and stuff, and like I said, I think as far as I know, you can read most of them because I read a lot of them online. But she went out with the two of them, with both Michael and Tommy, like a lot. Like they would go and hang out, like they'd go get ice cream, and she would always say stuff about, like, we went out driving in Tom's car. I was practically sitting on Tom's lap. He kept putting his hand on my knee, stuff like that. Like, it kind of seemed like she was sort of into it, but she wasn't really sure, like, where it was going, kind of thing. About 3 weeks before she was murdered, she wrote, I went to a party. Tom Skakel, was being an ass. At the dance, he kept putting his arms around me and making moves. And then she also said, Michael, the other brother, was totally out of it. He was being a real asshole in his actions and words. Like I said, he was a bad drunk, according to everybody. He kept telling me that I was leading Tom on when I don't like him, except as a friend. I said, well, what about you and Jackie, who I guess was another one of their friends? You keep telling me that you don't like her and you're all over her. He doesn't understand that he can be nice to her without hanging all over her. Michael jumps to conclusions. I can't be friends with Tom just because I talk to him. It doesn't mean I like him. I really have to stop going over there. A lot of people thought that that was really creepy, that she had put that in her diary like about a month before she got murdered. Like she had to stop hanging out with them because of all of this drama. So it could have been like they were kind of like fighting over her. So in June of 1998, they did a one-man grand jury, which I guess they do it sometimes, but I'd never heard of that. They said, it's very unusual.
Well, most grand juries are damn rubber stamps anyway.
Yeah, so I guess
they'll approve any case.
Yeah, they just had one dude. So they wanted to see if there was enough evidence to pursue a case against Michael Skakel. Now, they did an 18-month investigation, and then they decided that there was enough evidence to charge him with Martha Moxley's murder. So in January of 2000, they issued an arrest warrant, and they it was kind of weird. I never heard of this happening. I'm sure it happens before. I don't know all the legalities and everything. But because Michael, at this point in 2000, he was, I believe, 39 or 40 years old, but they were kind of going through the juvenile courts because he was only 15 when he allegedly committed the crime, right? So they were kind of going through those channels. Now, he actually did go into custody without a fight, like when they arrested him. And they released him later on like $500,000 bail. Now, they originally arraigned him for murder, like I said, in juvenile court, because he was 15 when Martha Moxley was murdered. But then they kind of went through the channels, and they said, okay, we're going to try him as adult, obviously, because he's an adult now. He's 39 years old. So the thing about him, why they thought, other than the real sketchy story that he told, and the whole thing where the prosecutors are trying to argue that he was jealous because she was showing more attention to his older brother, and there was a sibling rivalry going on, and maybe he was really drunk that night, which he did admit, and he just saw them making out and went into a rage and, lost control or whatever, which seems like a pretty likely scenario. So this kid here, like I said, he had 6 siblings. And his family, very, very wealthy. Like I said, his dad was the brother of, Ethel used to be married to Robert F. Kennedy, the one that got assassinated in 1968, like I said. Now, he was actually the founder of the Great Lakes Carbon Corporation, which was like a big coal company. So he was had a fuck ton of money. He was super, super wealthy. Now, their mom, Ethel, died in 1973, so 2 years before the murder. And when his mom died, I guess kind of understandably, Michael Skakel started drinking heavily, when he was 13 years old. He was a pretty shitty student. He didn't really care about school. He had dyslexia, which actually was not diagnosed until he was much older. So that might have been another problem that he was, that was causing him to do bad in school and everything like that. According to family members, his dad kind of neglected him and maybe kind of emotionally abused him. also. So there was that whole thing going on. And like I said, after the mom died, it seemed like the dad didn't really know what to do. He just kind of hired people like tutors and nannies and stuff to look after them. But he just gave all the kids money and just kind of let them run wild. You know what I mean? And a lot of them were teenagers at the time. So they just did what they wanted. You know what I mean? Which, you know, it's kind of a recipe for disaster, honestly. Now, a couple years after the Martha Moxley murder, Michael Skakel was actually arrested for drunk driving in New York State. And to keep him from going to jail, they actually sent him to that reform school that I talked about earlier. And he actually ended up running away from that school a couple of times. You know what I mean? They put him in like a alcohol treatment program, all this other kind of stuff. Now, he did he went to rehab and he seemed to kind of get his life together afterwards. He finally got sober like in his 20s, and ended up, I think he went on to be like an athlete. He did like speed skating and all this other kind of stuff. Now, he did eventually marry. He married a professional golfer, actually, which is, man, if he did kill Martha Moxley, that's pretty fucked up because he killed Martha allegedly with a golf club, and then he ended up marrying a golfer. That's kind of weird. But yeah. But honestly, and they had a kid, but then like the wife, I think, divorced him like not long after he got arrested for the murder. So they started his trial in 2002 in Connecticut. And basically, they're trying to show that all the shit that he said earlier about him going to his cousin's house and all this other kind of crap was different than what he said to the private investigators later on. Like, he didn't say anything about masturbating in a tree or anything like that initially to the police, but then he did say that to the investigators later. And he was also kind of, you know, the whole timeline, him and Tommy, like, they lied to the police, and so they were trying to kind of get a whole thing going with that. Now, I will say, even though, I'm going to say right here, I do think that Michael Skakel did it.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
But
any regular jury would have convicted him.
Well, I mean, they did. We'll see. But
yeah.
as we'll see. But I'm pretty sure he did it. There's just no. Yeah. There doesn't really seem to be any. If anybody else did it, I would say it was maybe the older brother. But there really didn't seem to be as much evidence against him as there did against Michael. Like, Michael seemed a lot more sketchy.
It was a sketchy motherfucker that knew her, was around that area, around that time.
And had a motive. And had a crush on her.
That's him.
And like I said, and I believe it's possible that he was mad because she was making out with his brother.
Yeah.
You know, and he thought he should have her, blah, blah, blah.
He just got pissed off, went down there and said something to her, and a fight broke out.
Yeah, I'm kind of imagining
I'll kill you.
That's
shit like that.
Sort of what happened.
Yeah, it didn't start out. He probably didn't plan on killing her. It would have been a lot cleaner.
Probably not. You know what I mean? It was probably just, like I said, he was drunk that night. He said.
She said something back to him, and then the fucking one thing led to another, and he beat her to death with a fucking nearest thing at hand, which was a golf club. He was like, "Oh shit."
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
He did it though.
Yeah, I don't really see any reason to doubt.
Yeah.
That he did it. Like I said, the fact that he lied about shit. Like, who the fuck is in a tree jerking off? That's fucking weird. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Murder Man didn't jump out of the sky with a fucking cape and grab her.
Right, exactly.
That wasn't going on, because there would have been a string of those.
Yeah.
And it was just her. The timing and the situation that people
Yeah,
were
they
around
knew each
her.
other. They hung out all the time. There was like, you know, there was a past going on there. And like I said, the fact that he lied about so much stuff.
And the shit that he said to other people. And,
that he allegedly said to other people. Yeah, it seems like he totally did it. But like I said, we'll get into a little bit here because there was a little bit more to it. So he goes to trial, and he is eventually. Now, so as much as I said that I do think he did it, I will say that I think some of the tactics that the prosecution used, well, particularly this one tactic used, was a little bit misleading. Because what he had recorded interviews with these private investigators, because he was writing a book or something like that. And they played these for the jury at the trial. And when he was talking about jerking off in the tree, and he said something to the effect of, "Oh, I was thinking, I hope they didn't see me." And in the whole tape context, he was talking about, I hope they didn't see me jerking off. But when they replayed it in the closing arguments, they didn't play the part where he said about jerking off. So it almost sounded like he was admitting, oh, I hope they didn't see me kill her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was a little bit, even though they had played the whole tape for the jury earlier, so it's not like they clipped it out. That would be really sketchy. But I just thought that was a little bit misleading because they had these pictures of her body, like, you know, blown up, and it was real fucked up because, you know, they were making their final arguments. They were trying to do that final push. And they replayed that part of the tape, but they left out the part where he said about jerking off. So it almost made it seem like they were trying to imply that he said, oh, I hope they didn't see me kill her. Where what he actually said on the tape was, I hope they don't see me jerking off in the tree. You know what I mean?
Just associating that jerking off when you did it.
Yeah,
no,
see,
no motherfucker would have.
That's what I mean. Even admitting
like
that
yeah,
is weird.
Yeah, if I was like, you know, Judge Dredd, you know what I mean, where I'm fucking going through this case and listening to all these people, and I'm judge, jury, and executioner. As soon as a dude said that, I'd fucking kill him.
I'd be like, yeah,
you did that shit.
That's
only
not
a motherfucker that
that's not a normal thing that people do.
Yeah, right. He
It's
was
just
just
not.
trying to give himself some kind of leeway because he doesn't want to say, "I hope you guys didn't see me killing her." So
Yeah.
he substituted that with something else that he didn't want people to know about, is that he jerked
So
off
it
on
sounded legit.
her. So
Yeah.
it sounded like he really had something to worry about, but it wasn't killing her.
Yeah.
That's
Oh
what
no, I would
yeah.
never.
And
That's
he's-
yeah. See, that's the
he's
vibe
a young,
I got too.
He's a young kid, and he's using that to fish for information.
Yeah.
He's using that to fish for information and to give himself plausible deniability of why he doesn't really want to talk about this, what happened, you know. It's that.
Yeah.
As soon as that dude came up with something like that, you said,
Yeah. I mean, like I
right to the
said,
gallows.
that's fucking sketchy, right there.
Yeah, just yeah.
And here's the thing: it's just kind of like anybody really. A lot of dudes that go on to commit like rapes and murders and stuff, start out as peeping toms.
Yeah.
So I know it doesn't sound like that big a deal. Oh, they were just looking in somebody's window and jerking it.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, and maybe in aggregate it's not a big deal at first, but people that have that do that kind of shit usually go on to do worse shit.
Yeah, and look.
I gotta pee.
Okay. If you're new to the show or whatever, if you've been listening to the show for a long time, you might know some of my background. I fucking was part of a crash rescue team out in Egypt one time, man. Fucking Gulf of Aqaba when I was in the Army. Our little unit over there in fucking South Camp got called out to fucking go to a crash that had happened between a bus and a tractor trailer carrying a fucking bulldozer blade in the back of it, and it fucking went down the side of the fucking bus, killed a bunch of people. We went down there to evacuate the wounded, but they had all gone. They jumped on that truck, and that truck drove them about 10 miles up the road, you know, and they all ended up in the hospital. So when we showed up, it was just a bus full of dead people. And I was like one of 4 dudes that got tasked to go in there and pull them dead bodies out. It was wild, man. It's one of the reasons why I got fucking PTSD, get my fucking PTSD money. During pulling them people out, man. I pulled a girl out of there it was on her birthday after we went through her fucking information in her pocket, or is it actually in her purse. We hadn't seen fucking women in fucking months. We were up there for 6 months up in Egypt. She was the cutest thing looking at her body. There was no head, just a lower jaw. Just beautiful young woman. And we looked at her picture, and fucking she was cute as hell. An Israeli girl that got killed in that bus. And fucking when I hauled her out, all the guys were up around, you know, watching them coming out. We were tagging and bagging them and trying to go through their information as we would pull them out, writing it all down, which was sometimes difficult because some of it was in Egyptian, some of it was in Hebrew. And the Hebrew stuff also had some English writing on it. So we were just trying to do basic writing and then putting their documents in with that bag so you know they could identify who they were by their information. And I pulled her out. She was wearing shorts. The flip flops were gone, and she had like a tube top, and she had implants. She looked fucking great. But the thing is, though, is that you look at a dead body, even if you're a young dude, and you haven't seen a fucking hot woman in a long time, the first thing that comes to your mind is not to jerk off on her. Hell no.
I mean, I would hope not.
No. So him just saying that makes you want to kill him. That's not the feeling that you have when you see it. What we all, everybody went, oh. And everybody that saw it, there must have been 20 of us there, was just like, oh, what a waste. Oh, it's horrible. You know? It's not really a big deal when it's middle-aged men and women. It's when somebody like in the flower of reproductivity, you know what I mean, and their beauty, it's like, oh, you know what I mean? Because women kind of symbol have fertility symbols to guys, you know what I mean? Life comes from them, and there's just like, wow, man, that's a high value person is gone, you know, somebody that we would have fucking, you know, would have wanted to be in a relationship with. That's kind of the instinctive feelings, you know what I mean? You see, it's not sexual. What are you talking about? You know?
Well, yeah, like I said, that's why that's a big red flag.
Yeah.
When, I mean, a lot of serial killers, particularly like sexual serial killers and stuff like that, home invader type rapists and stuff like that, almost always start out as peeping Toms.
Yeah. No, the first reaction is, this chick is beautiful and fucking what a waste. What a waste, you know what I mean? And you feel like sadness. You know? And it doesn't matter fucking where she comes from or anything, you know, what race she is. It's just, you know, because you just go, this is probably a girl you know you'd have a good time with, you know what I mean? Fucking probably cool, or maybe she turned you down. It doesn't matter. It's just, you know, that is a valuable person to somebody, you know.
CB said, I would never admit to masturbating to someone in court or on tape. Yeah, that
especially over a dead body.
Yeah, the thing about it, well, I don't think he told the court that. Like, he allegedly told a friend that. He did admit to masturbating in the tree, but I don't know if he was talking about the tree that the dead body was under, because
that's what he's talking about.
I kind of feel like that's probably what he was saying. Yeah, the fact that he would even say that is sus.
Maybe
because he's probably trying to cover. She's trying to cover up something worse.
Maybe he went up the tree to jerk off, because the limbs were like a fucking shield, so you couldn't see him, but he could see the body.
Yeah, maybe so.
Something like that.
Like,
that's
man,
some weird shit, man.
He's putting a lot of thought into this kind of shit, which, like I said, that's very sus. Like, anything like that is just, like, super fucking weird. You know what I mean?
No.
It's like...
No, when you're handling dead bodies, the sexuality doesn't come. That's why those weird fucking necrophiles are so weird.
Yeah.
Because that's not
because it's
the normal human response. And another thing is that you don't really see them as people, because you see them as gone.
Well, yeah,
you
it's
see
like
them
an
as
empty
like
vessel.
mannequins, empty vessels. They're like a mannequin, something that once was. That's how you see them. You don't see them as a living thing, or you don't see them as people anymore. They're gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grander says only rich white males could pull off that alibi, right?
Yeah.
It's like anybody else said that, they'd be like, fuck off out of there with that.
Yeah.
Like the fact that anybody, I mean, he didn't get away with it either, I guess, but you know what I mean. All right, so so through all of this, like I said, it seems pretty obvious to everybody that he probably did it, but and the jury seemed to agree, because in June of 2002, Michael Skakel was found guilty of murdering Martha Moxley. However, that wasn't the end of the story. Now, he was actually sentenced to 20 years to life. Okay. So he gets put in prison about a year or two later. His cousin, RFK Jr., wrote an article in the Atlantic Monthly, which was called A Miscarriage of Justice. And he was just swearing up and down that Michael Skakel had never killed anyone, and that he was railroaded, and that it was the media were picking on him, and he came up with like all these conspiracy theories, like why it wasn't him. You know what I mean? He was saying at first, okay, so later on he put out a book. I think he wrote two books ultimately about it. One of them was called Framed, which came out in 2016. And in that one, he was kind of trying to peg it on a bunch of different people. Like, one of the people he tried to point a finger at was Kenneth Littleton, who was the tutor, who they did, they did like question him at the time, and it's just like they couldn't find any evidence against him. He didn't really have any motive. He didn't know her. He just got there, you know what I mean? So they didn't really think any of that was going anyplace. So he kind of was saying his big... one of the reasons he was defending his cousin, he kept saying that he had a quote unquote ironclad alibi. His ironclad alibi was just that he was at his cousin's house for a couple hours, and he was saying, oh, well, he didn't get home till 11 o'clock, and she was killed at 10 o'clock, so that means that he couldn't have been there. But the thing about it was that all of the, post-mortem and everything like that said maybe she was killed at 10 o'clock, but it's like she could have been killed at any time between 9:30 and, 5:30 the next morning. It wasn't that precise. That was just kind of like, they're like roughly that time, but it could have been after that time. You know what I mean? So it's like it very well could have been an hour or two later. You know what I mean? It wasn't, so that wasn't really an ironclad alibi, even if he was at that other dude's house, which he did seem to be. But he did come home after an hour and a half. So the fact that he was saying, oh, it happened at 10 p.m., that was disingenuous. That's not what they said. They said maybe it happened then, but it could have happened any time before the following morning. So there was that. And also, he's also kind of trying to discredit, like I said, he tried to spin a conspiracy theory about it, and he's calling all the people that were involved a bunch of liars and drug addicts and stuff like that, which is kind of funny because RFK Jr. was also a drug addict for a very long time and was once arrested for ODing on a plane bathroom. So it's kind of funny that he's calling other people that. But you know what I mean. Now, one of his big theories, which is kind of, okay, so this is a little bit complicated because it's third hand, you know what I mean? But this is what he was going with. He's saying that, this is the story that he wanted, because he kind of saved it till the end of the book. He was saying, oh, maybe it was the tutor, and maybe it was this guy, or maybe it was that guy. But then, he's saying, but really, who the real killer was, I'm saving that till the end, you know what I mean? Now, what ended up happening was that he gets a letter from a dude named Crawford Mills. And this person says in the letter, the jury got it all wrong. And this guy says, my friend, Tony Bryant, who is actually, I think, the cousin of Kobe Bryant, he told me that he was with two of his buddies in Belle Haven on Connecticut on the night of the murder, and that the two of them confessed to killing her, and that the two guys that he was with had gone to the same school as the Skakels did. So this is, like I said, a third hand, because this is a guy who wrote him a letter that said, my friend told me that these other two dudes did this.
Not really, that's hearsay.
Yeah, that's big time.
Yeah.
So,
I think they got the wrong guy.
And it will probably not shock you to know that these dudes were black.
Yeah.
Now, interestingly, Belle Haven is lily fucking white.
Yeah.
And you would think
they'd stick out
that someone would have seen them.
Yeah, they got
if there was two big burly black guys.
Yeah.
Or three big or whatever it was, walking around this lily ass white neighborhood.
Yeah.
And nobody saw them. And actually, the two guys, they're real guys. They both had one of them was at work, and one of them was way far away. Yeah. So the fact that he's accusing these random ass people just because of this second, and it's
no, they got the right guy.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm 99% sure that they got the right fucking dude. You know what I'm saying?
Just with some of those sideways ass comments and shit, it's yeah, you're the one.
It's just It's I understand wanting to defend a fucking relative or something, but as far as I could determine, I don't think they were really that close. I mean, he said that he hadn't even heard of the murder until later on, or he never met him or something like that. So I don't know why he was so invested in trying to clear his name or whatever, or trying to spin this whole conspiracy theory that he was being railroaded or there was some big plot against him or something like that, when it pretty clearly seems like I said, I'm not a big, I know there's some smaller conspiracies in real life, but some of these kind of bigger conspiracies that would entail several dozen or maybe several hundred people all going along with the shit, it doesn't, I mean, it would just be too much and somebody would have blown the whistle on it, and it just seems much you know, you gotta Occam's razor that shit. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's obviously probably a lot simpler than that. Most things are, you know? So I kind of feel like that's probably where it was. Now, and the thing about it was that the guy that supposedly told the story to this guy that wrote the letter, like I said, I know that's complicated because it's like fucking it's like 2 or 3 people removed, you know what I mean? That guy who said that his 2 friends were going to go, what was the wording that he used? He said, oh, they feel like going caveman on a woman tonight or something like that. That's what he said, they said. Which, like I said, I don't believe that. And then when it came time for the trial, because that was one of the theories that came out, like when Michael Skakel was trying to get a new trial, it's like, oh, hey, did you guys even look at this angle or whatever? Was that guy wouldn't even testify, like the guy that supposedly said all this. And then he went to prison for something else, like for some kind of extortion or something like that, some kind of fraud or some shit. So that guy wouldn't even fucking testify. I think his story was bullshit anyway. This is what I heard, is that he was writing a play about the murder, so maybe he was trying to like drum up some fucking publicity for it or something like that. So yeah, it's pretty funny because I actually watched a 48 Hours episode about this case where it was mostly focusing on her diary and like all Martha Moxley's diary and all the stuff she said in there. And they kind of interviewed a lot of people like for and against and blah blah blah, and they did have RFK Jr. on there for a little bit. And it's like when they started asking him about the allegations that he made about these people and stuff like that, he had a little bitch fit and just left. And he just left. It was like pretty funny. It's on YouTube if you want to see it. So so Michael Skakel continued to assert his innocence. And he actually appealed in 2003 to the Connecticut Supreme Court. And the first argument that he made was that it should have been tried in juvenile court because he was a juvenile when it happened. And that if it had been tried in juvenile court, then the statute of limitations would... I'm like, there's no statute of limitations on murder. What the fuck are you talking about? You know what I mean? Nice try, but no. So... basically, they were like, no. The Connecticut Supreme Court said, no, you're still in prison. Sorry. And then, so he got another attorney, and then they filed another writ trying to say something or other. And the court also wouldn't hear that case either. They were just like, no, please go away. So then he gets another attorney. Couple of other attorneys. They do a writ of habeas corpus. They did a motion for a new trial, and this was when he tried to do the whole Tony Bryant theory that had been in the book. And he's like, yeah, you guys need to, this is probably what really happened and blah blah blah. And that didn't go so well either. Like the court was like, no, that's, you know, they're not credible, and that's not going to do it either. Sorry. So yeah. And then, so he gets denied another request where he's trying to get a new trial is what he's trying to do. So that was in 2007. And yeah, they said that this news testimony is not credible. That's not what happened. Nobody saw these people. You know, he's just pulling this out of his ass. So like, don't even, just get out of my face with that pretty much. And, so he got ruled against like a bunch of times, like all these appeals and for a new trial that he was trying to get. Then he tried a different tactic where, I mean, he's persistent. I'll give him that. He tries another tactic where he's trying to say that his original attorney, Michael Sherman, was incompetent and that he only wanted to make money or get famous off the case and all this other kind of shit. And that he was just trying to make money, whatever. And I don't think that one fucking worked either. Then he tried to argue to get his sentence reduced, trying again to argue that it should have been heard in juvenile court. That didn't work either. He also had a parole hearing. They did not give him parole. So, you know, pretty much all of the things. But, like I said, he's persistent, and I guess eventually that paid off. Because In 2013, he was granted a new trial. And it was on the grounds that his original attorney hadn't adequately represented him back in 2002. So the prosecutor said, okay, fuck that noise, we're going to appeal it. Now, in late 2013, they did release Michael Skakel on a $1.2 million bond. Now, he had some conditions to his release. They basically said he had to wear a GPS monitor thing. You couldn't leave Connecticut. He wasn't allowed to contact Martha Moxley's family. And he had to, like, check in over the phone, like, every so often or whatever. And so he was out for a little while. But then, in 2016, the Connecticut Supreme Court reinstated his murder conviction with a 4-3 majority and said, put his ass back in jail.
He sent him back. Damn, that's
well,
rare.
They were going to send him back. But what ended up happening, there was, like, all this legal wrangling.
Yeah, that's very rare.
And then in 2018, the Supreme Court asked to revoke his bail and send him back to prison, and so he could finish out his sentence.
Which was life? What was it?
It was 20 to life.
20,
yeah.
To a life. Yeah.
Yeah. But then later that same year, 2018, this Supreme Court actually vacated his conviction and ordered a new trial.
Okay.
And then because they said that he hadn't gotten a fair trial in the first place or whatever. That was one of the things that he was arguing. And then, so it ended up that they were actually going to put him back in, but then they just let him out. And then basically they said he can't be retried because they didn't think that they would be able to prove it, like, beyond a reasonable doubt. You know, it's been a long time and everything like that.
It's all gone, yeah.
So he actually did serve a while, and he got out for a little while, and then I don't even know if they put him back in, because I think there was
Probably
like all
not.
this legal wrangling going on.
Yeah.
So I think he got out in like 2016, maybe.
Yeah, it's very rare that they let you out and then decide to put you back in because you haven't taken another charge. Now, if you get in trouble again, yeah, they'll pull you back in, like another charge. It's very rare that they'll pull you back in, because see, what you can do is you can also argue, well, it's like malicious prosecution.
Yeah, like they're picking on me.
They're picking on me. You can say they're being cruel. They're letting me out and then putting me back in and letting me back out, make one.
Yeah.
How old was he when they convicted him?
About 39, 40.
No. When they first convicted him.
Yeah, 39, 40.
He was that old?
Yeah, because remember I said it was a long time.
Okay, I thought they got him back in the day.
No, the murder was committed in 1975, and they didn't convict him until 2002.
Okay.
Because they didn't know there was enough, like,
so he
evidence.
did about what?
Well, it ended up being,
8, 9 years?
14 years?
14 years,
something
yeah.
like that. Maybe it was longer.
Yeah. Well, you look at it this way. Even if that was him, by the time how old was he when he did it? 18?
15.
15? Oh, yeah. And he was a different person by the time he was 20 anyway. A lot of times. So, I would say he did his time.
I mean, probably.
He did his time. He wasn't a repeat offender, so even if that was him, he did his time. Had it been, and he got lucky though. Had that been,
big time.
Had that been a state down south,
or somebody with no money.
yeah, they'd have got him fucking when he was 15. They'd given him life, and he would have still be in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he got off.
Yeah, don't think for 1 second that, like, the amount of money you have doesn't matter.
No,
it
yeah,
absolutely does.
Yeah, they have DuPonts get away. That one DuPont got away with murder.
Well,
and then they hid the case. Like,
I mean, allegedly, if he did it, I mean, he was out for a long time.
Yeah.
He was out from 1975 to 2002. Like, it was only then, like, you know, because of that other rape case, they started, like, pursuing it.
They had one of the DuPonts kill his fucking trainer in the gym, shot him. And then he disappeared, and they said, well, he just has a mental problem, and then the case just kind of vanished quietly. Because he was a fucking billionaire.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, they can kind of get
They're
away
fucking,
pretty much
you know, DuPont fucking chemicals and shit. Hell yeah. And then they own so much stuff that they can't get away with murder. Yeah. And they do it all the time.
Well, they can just pay people off, too.
Oh, yeah. Well, and then they own islands and shit like that. Child islands and weird shit and fucking yachts. And they're out on fucking international waters. And you can commit crimes out there on international waters outside U.S. jurisdictions. There's all kinds of shit, and they know all about it. They know how to get away with shit. When I was in the Army, one of the biggest things that you could do is fucking go into Special Forces, fucking become a contractor, and then get into what they called executive protection. But what that was to be an enforcer for a billionaire. There's all kinds of shit you could do. You get law enforcement training, special, what do you call it? Private investigation training. And you're a mercenary for some fucking billionaire, and he's got fucking 6 or 7 guys like you, and as like an entourage, a security entourage. And then for all I know, they're knocking off his fucking enemies. Because they know how to do that shit. They got the money. And the coverage. They'll never see a courtroom.
But yeah, I'm actually surprised this guy eventually got convicted.
Yeah.
You know, and he did serve a significant amount of time. You know, so they didn't really let him get away with it. Because, like I said, in this case, I didn't hear, you know, I wasn't in the courtroom or anything like that. This case, I'm pretty sure that dude did it. I can't really think of anyone else that had any reason to do that.
There's no reason to think that it wasn't him.
I don't really see anyone else doing it. Like I said, I don't think it was just some random stranger. It's the way that the crime was committed, to me, that just screams rage and jealousy. And so it was obviously somebody that knew her, and was very, very angry at her. And it also seemed like really out of control, which to me, that kind of goes in with the whole timeline of he was mad because she was making out with his brother. There was a rivalry. He was really drunk. He got really angry. Like I said, like you said, they probably got in some kind of argument or something like that. And, you know, and honestly, it could be too. Maybe the other brother was in on it. I doubt it, kind of, but
maybe he saw it.
It's possible. But whoever it was, like I said, the fact that the golf club she was killed with came from their house.
Yeah.
Who else would have access to that but one of them? It had to be one of them. Who the fuck else would have it?
Hey, he did it.
Yeah, it was their mom's golf club set.
And then his defense didn't put forth any credible exculpatory evidence to clear him. So yeah, they did it.
Yeah, he was just doing sketchy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was at his cousin's house maybe for like an hour and a half, but he came home.
Yeah.
Afterward, and he very well could have killed her after that.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing saying that he couldn't have.
Okay, so what about the next case?
So I totally think he did it. But like I said, he's out now.
Yeah.
But he did serve some time, so that's something at least. Now, this next case here, probably most people will be familiar with it because of the Netflix series, Making a Murderer. And then there was also a follow-up called Convicting a Murderer, because what a lot of people, when Making a Murderer came out, I want to say it was a while back. I think it was 2014, 2015, something like that. And it was like a hugely, hugely popular, like everybody was fucking talking about it. And it was about this murder case, but it was more specifically about the alleged wrongful conviction of Steven Avery, the guy who got convicted for it. And in this case, I'm less sure about this one, but I'm definitely leaning more toward I think they probably got the right guy. I can see why some people think that they didn't, because there was... Okay, so he was absolutely wrongfully convicted of something else, like an unrelated case, and spent a very long time in prison because of it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it happened again. You know what I mean? But I feel like this case, like people still, there's a huge divide about it, with some people thinking that he's innocent and should be let out because he's actually still in prison. And some people thinking, yeah, it's fine, they got the right guy. Like I said, I'm leaning more toward, I'm pretty sure he probably did it too. But there is some like weird shit in there. Why people think that he probably did it is that the thing is they think that he was framed like by the cops. And I'm not saying that the cops don't frame people sometimes, because they do. But the thing about it was that even if the cops allegedly had done some weird sketchy shit in this case, that doesn't mean that he's not guilty. Both things can be true. You know what I mean? And I kind of feel like that was maybe more the situation here, you know? That's kind of where I'm coming at it from. I don't think he was innocent in this. I know he didn't do the other shit that he went to prison for. That sucks that happened. Because he legit did not do that. But, this one, I kind of feel like he probably did do it. I mean, I'm like 75-80% sure that he probably did this one. It's just, there's too much weird shit, that, while not impossible to frame, kind of make him a patsy for it, would have been really difficult, and probably somebody would have found out about it. Like I said, it's kind of that conspiracy thing. The more people that are involved, the less likely it is that it's not going to fall apart. You know what I mean? So this murder also took place on Halloween, just like Martha Moxley's did. Hers was technically, I guess, the night before Halloween, but they found her body on Halloween. But this one actually happened on the day of Halloween, October 31st, 2005. And what happened with her, Teresa Halbach was her name, and I believe she was 23. Was she 23 or 25? No, I can't remember. She was in her 20s anyway. And she worked as a photographer, and she went missing on October 31st, 2005. And her last known location was a auto salvage yard called Avery's, which was in, I know I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Manitowoc County. Was that kind of right? If anybody's from Wisconsin, it's in Wisconsin. I heard people pronounce it like in the documentaries, and I was like, oh, I got to remember. And then I'm like, yeah, I'm going to fuck it up like when I get to it. But, Manitowoc, I think is how you pronounce it. So she went out there to take pictures of a vehicle because she worked part-time for Auto Trader magazine, and was not seen again later until her car and eventually her body were found on or around that property. Now, as I said, Steven Avery, the guy who was ultimately convicted of her murder and is still in prison for it now, had previously served 18 years in prison for a crime he legitimately did not commit. He was actually, I don't know if I'd say he was framed, but he was for sure wrongfully convicted of that crime. So I think the Netflix series, why it was so riveting for people, was that here was a guy that was wrongfully convicted prior, and then this other murder comes up and he's convicted of that too. So maybe it happened 2 times. But like I said, I'm not real sure about that. I kind of feel like the dude did probably do this, I kind of feel like. And he'd actually only been out of prison for a couple of years, like when the Teresa Halbach murder happened, because he was in there for 18 years for a rape that he didn't do. To be fair to the victim, which we'll get to in a minute, he did the guy that did it, they eventually found him with DNA and stuff. They did look a lot alike, because she picked him out of a lineup and shit like that. So I could see why you could mistake one for the other, because they did kind of look alike. So in her defense, I don't think she did it on purpose or nothing like that, but it sucks that happened to him. But the dudes did look alike, So I'm just saying that right now. So, and I will say too that a lot of people have said about the Netflix docuseries Making a Murderer that it's very clearly biased in favor of the dude's innocence, and because of that, I feel like a lot of stuff got left out. They left a lot of little details out that might have made him look less innocent. Which is why later on there was another docuseries made that was called Convicting a Murderer that was trying to fill in all the stuff that Making a Murderer left out. It's a super complicated case, so I can't go way into it, but we'll kind of, just sort of skim the surface, I guess. But, it's kind of an interesting case. So, and like I said, people found it really riveting, but I think that a lot of people found it riveting because they thought the dude had been wrongfully convicted, and I kind of feel like maybe not. In the first case, yeah, but not in this case, I don't think. Allegedly. Don't sue me, you know what I mean? So let's talk a little bit about the victim, because I kind of feel like she gets left out of this a lot, because everybody's so worried about the dude that maybe did it. So Teresa Halbach, she's actually was born in 1980, and she was originally from Calumet County, Wisconsin. And she graduated from the University of Wisconsin in Green Bay, and she got a degree in photography. Like, photography was her passion. It was like all she ever wanted to do. By all accounts, she was a lovely, lovely person. Just one of those people that a lot of her friends said, like, she was always the kind of person that would, like, help you out or make you feel comfortable, make you feel welcome or something, like if you didn't know anyone or something like that. They said she was just a delightful woman. So she, by the time 2005 rolled around, she had actually been working as a photographer for quite a while, and she had actually just opened her own photography studio called Photography by Teresa, and she did weddings and, you know, she took pictures of people, families and kids, and she did like boudoir photos and all that kind of stuff, like a normal photo studio would do. It was still kind of in the early stages, and she was still trying to get established, like, in her business. So she still also had a part-time gig working for Auto Trader. Now, if you're not from the U.S., like, the Auto Trader is like this little magazine, or if you're trying to sell your car, I don't really think it's all online now, probably. I don't even know if it still exists. But you know, somebody will come out, take pictures of your car, they put it in the magazine, and, you know, someone hopefully will come buy it, you know. So she had a part-time job working for them. So they would call her up, she would make appointments, hey, I need my car photographed or whatever, and she would go out and photograph people's cars. So she did that part of the time too. So there was that. Now, on the day that she disappeared, which was Halloween of 2005, she had been sent on an assignment to Avery's Auto Salvage. Now, that was actually her third appointment of the day. She had actually had two previous ones. The one prior was the Zipperer family. I can't remember who the first one was, but she was just going out there to, like, photograph various things. And this was, like, her last appointment of the day. It was like 2 or 2:30 in the afternoon. She was supposed to be out there. Now, she had been called up to come out because apparently the guy... Okay, so Avery's Auto Salvage in Wisconsin had been in business for decades, and it had been in the same family, the Avery family, obviously, for just as long. And it was like this whole... I don't know if I'd call it a compound exactly, but it was kind of like the auto salvage yard, and then all the family members kind of lived on the property. You know what I mean? Like, they had trailers or houses or whatever. It was like this big... Like, it's kind of like a compound, you know what I mean? But they also, like, ran the business there and had done for many, many years. Like, they were kind of well known in the area. And she had actually gone out to this property before. I believe it was 6 times prior to this particular day. She got called out there on this day because I believe it was Steven Avery's sister, if I'm remembering it correctly, was selling a minivan, and he wanted her to come out and take pictures of it. I think he had someone else call, though. I don't think he called her directly. He had somebody, like a female relative, call. So they called and set the appointment up, and she evidently went out there. Now, they found out later, like I said, that she had been, according to Auto Trader, who she worked for, and they had a record of all her appointments, she had been out to this property before, and she had complained before. She didn't really like it. She thought that Steven Avery, who would eventually be convicted of killing her, was creepy. And that one time when she went there to take pictures, like, he answered the door with just a towel on, and she thought that was really sketchy, because it is. And she just didn't want to go out there. However, you know, she worked for Auto Trader. They sent her out there. She needed the money, presumably. So she went out there. I mean, I kind of feel like even if... I mean, you go out there and you don't like it and it makes you uncomfortable and shit like that, but that's your job. And you probably think, oh, it's the middle of the day. Everybody knows this salvage yard. Nothing's going to happen. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, that was not the case, allegedly. So she goes out there to take pictures and is subsequently never heard of again. Now, a couple days go by, and her friends and family, like her roommate and stuff like that, she was single at the time, but she lived with a roommate. And her parents didn't see her, because I think the Sunday before, October 30th, like before she disappeared, She had just been with her family because it was her grandpa's birthday or something like that. She'd been over there hanging out with them. And they said it was very unlike her to let go a couple of days without them hearing from her. So her mom kind of called around to her roommate, and everybody was like, have you heard from her? Nobody had. So she called the police and reported her missing. And there's phone calls, like you can hear all the phone calls between everybody. Like her mom calling to report her missing and all this other kind of stuff. So they're like, something must have happened to her because she's like really responsible. So they sent out a search party. And a couple of days later, they ended up finding her car, which was a 1999 Toyota RAV4. It was like kind of a dark tealish sort of color. And they found it in the Avery salvage yard, but it was kind of not really covered up, but it looked like somebody had like half-assed like thrown branches and shit on it, Also, the plates were gone, which, suspicious. And then, not too long after that, they brought cadaver dogs out to the property because after they, obviously the investigators went to Auto Trader and said what were her appointments that day, and that was her last appointment that day, so they went out there to search. They brought out cadaver dogs, and the cadaver dogs, they went to this burn pit that Steven Avery had in his yard, or near his yard. Like I said, it was kind of a big compound with all these trailers and stuff. And they found human bones in this burn pit, as well as some electronics like phone and stuff like that. And it turned out that these bones belonged to Teresa Halbach. So obviously her body had been burned out there. And the car, when they found her car, they investigated that, and they actually found Steven Avery's blood inside the car. Not a lot of it. There was just kind of like a smudge. It kind of looked like if you'd had blood on your knuckle and like started the car, like with the key. Like it looked like you'd smudge blood like that. And then there was like some blood in the back and shit like that. They did several searches on his house over the course of however long. Because the weird thing about it is that I heard some of the phone calls between, like, early on in the case, between some of the investigators. And at first, they didn't seem to think that Steven Avery was a suspect. They said that he was very cooperative, that he didn't seem to have anything to hide. They had searched his property and hadn't really found anything too fishy. I mean, other than the burn pit and the car being there. But like I said, it was kind of a big compound. It's weird because at first, they seem to be focusing more on this family that she'd had the photography appointment with before that. And also, they thought that her roommate was kind of sketchy, like when they told him about it and everything like that. But like I said, they didn't really seem to have any fucking reason for doing what they did. So, but it was just weird that they thought that he wasn't really a suspect at first, even though the body was found like on his property and the car was found on his property. Like that seems a little, I mean, yeah, it seems a little fishy. Also, during one of the searches of his house, because like I said, they did several, as far as I am aware, when they searched inside his house, they didn't find anything that incriminating. Like they didn't find any blood in his house that belonged to her or any weird fluids or anything like that. They did find like shackles and like leg irons like on the bed, but he said that was him and his girlfriend did that shit. But when they searched the garage at some point, they found like a shell casing that had Teresa Halbach's DNA on it, like trace DNA on this shell casing or whatever.
That's odd.
That's
usually not possible.
Not usually.
What caliber are we talking about now?
I don't know.
They didn't say?
Or either that or I don't remember. It's not.
Yeah, it's kind of important.
Well, I don't know though.
Okay.
So I can't tell you.
It was pistol?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right.
I don't know.
Reason why I'm saying this, people, is because what happens inside of a firearm, anything having to do with the casings, usually high pressure. You know what I mean? And I'm not sure DNA can actually survive what happens inside the fucking chamber of a pistol or even a shotgun, which is pretty low pressure. Which means that it must have been touched after it had been fired. Either that or cross-contamination inside the laboratory. I don't know if I can believe that.
I mean, it's possible. Which, like I said, that was kind of one of the points of contention, which, like I said, we'll get into in a bit. But,
right.
I mean, there's more shit.
Okay.
So, yeah. As Klaus points out, they also found her car key to her Toyota RAV4 in his bedroom. And like I said, they found his blood in her car. As though he had... Like I said, to me, it looked like he had started the car with her key with blood on his hand. Is what it looked like to me. Like, it looked like a smudge right there. Like, where the key goes. So, also, a bit later, he had a 16-year-old nephew named Brendan Dassey, who I think was a little slow. He told police later on that he and Steven Avery, that he had come into Steven Avery's trailer and that Teresa had been shackled to the bed and that Steven was raping her and that he made the kid rape her too. And then he helped kill her. I will note that, because I watched some of the interrogation of the kid, even if that story is true, which it very well may be, I think that kid, I don't think he's mentally competent to, like I said, he seemed kind of slow. And so it might be that the cops like coerced him, or it might be that if Steven Avery did do what they said that he did, then he told, that he told the kid to do that. So I don't really think it was the kid's fault. Because he got sent to prison too, spoiler alert. So, and I don't know if that's right, but, because like I said, he didn't really seem super responsible for shit. So, all of this stuff kind of, the fact that that he was the last appointment of the day, she had said that she felt unsafe going out there because he seemed kind of creepy. And the fact that her car was found on his property, her body was found on his property, and various other things. I mean, obviously that seems pretty open and shut. So they did arrest Steven Avery, charged him with her murder, also with kidnapping, sexual assault, because she was raped and shot, by the way, and also with mutilation of a corpse because it was burned and stuff. So pretty much, honestly, I think even before he was charged, he was already starting to make noises about being framed. Which to me seems a little suspicious, but whatever. Because the thing about it is that he had been wrongfully convicted before. So, I don't know. I kind of have two theories about that, but we'll get into that like later on. His story was, he got wrongfully convicted before, and he was suing the police department for $36 million for the wrongful conviction. And so his argument was, they were trying to get out of paying me by framing me for this murder. That was what his argument was going to be. And I will say that the cops in this case, I feel like they did some kind of sideways shit or some kind of sketchy shit that, while maybe not illegal, like made it kind of look like maybe that, you know what I mean? It just kind of looked suspicious. So I could see why you could say that. That's why I'm kind of a little bit torn about this, but I'm not that torn because the dude was not really a good guy either. So, you know what I mean? And in their defense, the county police department that he was suing, they did actually ask like the neighboring county, like police, Calumet County, to come in and help them because of conflict of interest, you know what I mean? So they did try to have that going for them, you know what I mean? So, like I said, they did search the guy's house, garage, and everything like that several times. Now, another point of contention was that his property was searched a bunch of times, and they didn't find any blood in his house, and the bullet or the shell casing wasn't found until one of the later searches, which a lot of people thought was kind of suspicious, like maybe it was planted. And a lot of people also thought that maybe the cops had planted her car key in his bedroom. Like I said, I'm not sure I buy it. I'm not saying that like cops don't frame people, because sometimes they do, but it's just like, I think the number of people that would have had to have been involved in a frame up of this magnitude was probably too many. But you know, I don't know. I wasn't there, so I'm just saying. So yeah, so like I said, they were trying to at least give the appearance that they were trying to be fair, like by bringing in a neighboring county's police because of the whole lawsuit that was going on. You know what I mean? So they did do that. So there were some people that weren't involved in the lawsuit, like coming in and helping out with the case. There was also another thing where, and I think this is pretty far-fetched too, but they're like, okay, well, the fact that his blood was found in her car, they tried to argue, Avery's attorneys tried to argue that because he had blood on file from before, from like the previous conviction that was still in storage, that one of the cops could have, in theory, gone and got that and put it in the truck himself, like to make it look like Steven Avery had done the shit, to frame him, you know what I mean? But the thing about it was that when they tested the blood, when they store blood for a long time, they put like a chemical in it, EDTA, which keeps it from coagulating. And they said, had that been the case, that this blood had been stolen from the evidence room or whatever and put in this car, it would have had this chemical in it. And they did test for that, and it wasn't there. So that doesn't necessarily mean that he killed it, because it wasn't a lot of blood in the car. But it was weird that his blood was in her car. Why was her car even on his property in the first place? Like, she should have, if he didn't do anything to her, you would think that she would have just left if somebody else had done something to her later on. You know what I mean? Why is the car still there? On the other hand, I was kind of, because I was reading a lot of comments, which were kind of like 50-50, that thought he did it and thought he didn't do it. And people were like, you know, he owned a salvage yard. Like, you'd think that he would have gotten rid of the car, like put it in the crusher or whatever. Why didn't he do that? Why did they just leave it on the property, like with a couple branches like thrown half-assedly over it? And I'm just like, you know, I don't know. I don't know. We'll get into that in a little bit. So the whole thing would, you know, the cops like planting blood in the car. I don't buy that. Like I said, why would they go to all that trouble? And two, it didn't have the chemical in it anyway, because they did test for that. So all of the shit, they do the trial, right? Now, in early 2007, Steven Avery and his cousin, Brendan Dassey, were both found guilty of the murder. And both were sentenced to life in prison. Now, 10 years later, as most of you will know, Netflix made the docuseries Making a Murderer, and it was very much invested in trying to exonerate Steven Avery, and trying to push the narrative that they had been framed. Now, Steven Avery, I will note, was not a fucking angel, that's for sure. But the crime that he had spent 18 years in prison for, he was wrongfully convicted of that. That is true. And in the wake of that, like I said, he actually filed a $36 million lawsuit against the police department, which, like I said, in some people's minds would give the police department incentive to, like, frame him for this other murder, you know what I mean? Because it's happened right around his property. It's also been theorized that even if it wasn't the cops that framed him, that maybe somebody else killed her, and knowing that he had that history, like they tried to frame him. There's also some people that argue that, like maybe it was. I've heard some people say that maybe it was like his. Was it his nephew? I think it was his nephew, maybe. That like maybe his name's Bobby, and it's like maybe he was the one that did it. And knowing that Steven Avery had this history that he pinned it on him. Like I said, it all seems slightly far-fetched to me, but I'm not saying it's impossible. Now, Steven Avery, back when he was 18, he did have a conviction. This was back in 1981. He did have a conviction for robbing a bar with his friend, and he actually ended up getting a 2-year sentence for that. He served 18 months, or 10 months, rather. And then he got released on probation. And then in 1982, 2 friends of his said that he had an trigger warning for animal cruelty, because this kind of fucked me up a little bit. He had poured oil and gas on his cat and thrown his cat into a bonfire.
Oh man, that's it. I'm gonna fuck you up.
Which, like I said,
I can't
just the fact that he did that,
animal cruelty.
I'm just like, I don't even care if you murdered that girl or not. I think you probably did.
I can't stand.
But it's like cruelty. You do shit like that. Nope.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the same thing to you.
Nope.
I cannot stand animal cruelty. That's up there with child cruelty. Animals are innocent.
Yeah, I see no difference.
And I hunt. I'll kill deer and shit and fucking, but I'm eating it, and it's quick. But to take a domestic animal, an animal that you're supposed to be caring for as a little child, you know, no.
Yeah, as soon as I read that, I was just kind of like, yeah, I don't even care if you did the murder or not.
No.
I think you probably did, but even if you didn't,
and I don't even
you deserve to go to prison.
I don't even agree with trapping. And I once asked my dad when I was a kid, says, what, you don't hunt a raccoon? He's like, no, I'm not going to kill a raccoon. So you don't hunt bear? Because they're too cool. And I was like, what the hell is he talking about? I thought they were fierce animals when I was a kid. Well, my dad was right. You only hunt game animals. They reproduce rapidly. You're shooting them with a rifle at certain seasons and only certain ones. It's better than just keeping them in a concentration camp like we do our cows. Give them a free life and then just slaughter them all off. At least these animals are living wild. But to kill a fucking cat, they evolved alongside mankind through selective breeding to be our pets. They look up to us. You don't betray that's like a friendly species that we've created. You don't betray them.
Holy crap, I accidentally stepped a little bit on Bambi's tail today, and I felt like a huge asshole.
Goes all the way back to ancient Egypt. They were supposed to be our babies, and they sacrificed them, but they sacrificed them because they thought they were holy. You know? That's
still fucked up.
It was still fucked up, but they thought cats were holy, and they believed in the sacrifice, you know? I understand it, though. They treated them well. Sad, but it was just the religious understandings of the time, you know?
Yeah, Haidesh says, I hope the cops framed him then. Yeah, it's like, it's kind of like anybody that does something like that. Because here's the thing. He said later, when he was asked about this, I think he tried to spin it as, oh, well, I was just throwing the cat over the fire and it just fell in there. I'm like, that doesn't really make it any better. But then, like, his friends were like, no, man, he actually legit, like, threw it in there on purpose and then watched it. Like, and I was just like, yeah, that's fucked up. And the excuse he gave was, oh, I was young and stupid and hanging out with the wrong people. That's not something that you do. Even if you hang out with kind of bad people or something like that, that is serial killer shit right there, is what that is. Yeah. No normal person.
And that's why we eat them. So yeah, we eat them.
No normal person does that kind of shit.
You can eat an animal, but you always do this shit with respect. You know what I mean? It goes back to the Native Americans here in the United States. They hunted buffalo. They hunted all kinds of animals, but they never hated those animals. They didn't try to make those animals suffer. They always respected those animals, and they believed in like reincarnation and the happy hunting ground and all that. Part of the life cycle. So, but the thing is that cats were never meant to eat. And if you're not meant to eat it, then there's no reason to kill it. Cats were bred by humans to be companions and to keep your house free of things like mice and bugs and roaches. The cats will kill roaches. You know, they're your friends and
Well,
servants.
Pookie won't because she thinks they're gross.
She thinks they're gross. She doesn't smack them, but she'll warn you. Look, there's a palmetto bug in the house. It's here. Get it.
Beijing will straight up eat them.
Yeah.
Though. And
But
like
I'll
I said,
find
leave a
half-
leg is the warning.
The main thing I find in this house is half a lizard.
Yeah, we find that a lot.
Find half a lizard all the time.
Especially nowadays because like the
Yeah.
kitchen guy's been going in and out. So I guess there's like a bunch
Lizards
of little
come in.
lizards like will run in.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, if we see them, we throw them outside because like you're going to die. Like you got to get
The
out
other
of
day,
here.
I was walking through the hallway, and both cats were just sitting proud as a motherfucker, looking at each other, trying to take credit for something. And looking between them would be half a lizard. Oh, and I was like, and they're like, we killed it. Thank you. And they're like,
Poor
it's
lizard.
just that's what they're bred to do.
Yeah.
They eat half of it, and then they show you.
Yeah,
Look.
like, look, I got it.
We killed it. It's not supposed to be in here. They know. So animals do it. It's part of the animal cycle. And yeah, fucking cats play with their fucking kills, and that might look like torture, but they don't really mean it that way. They're not sentient creatures. We're humans. We're better than that. You're not supposed to be throwing a cat into a fire because you think it's funny.
Yeah, like I
Yeah,
said,
what kind of
anybody
shit-
that does that, I mean,
yeah, you're an asshole. I did
That's-
the same thing to you.
you're worse than an
And you got some
asshole.
people go like, "Hey, man, that's a
That's-
human life. How could you do that to a human?" And I
That's
said,
sociopath
I was
shit.
part of an army that wanted me to kill other dudes because they were wearing another uniform. Because the old men that owned us were fighting them. You think I wouldn't kill you because you fucking threw a cat in the fire? You're a fucking child. I'd throw you right in the fire. And I'd laugh. And I wouldn't care what anybody said about it because
Well,
when
I
I'm
think
in
most
that
people
mode,
would
I'm
be
just
like,
like,
yeah,
fuck
yeah.
you. Fuck
Look
you.
what happened to that fucker that
Yeah.
like released that video of like killing the cats in the
In the cage?
in the bag that Luke Magnotta.
Oh, yeah. People
dude.
went after his ass, too. Yeah. People went after him.
Yeah, the whole fucking internet went after that.
And then he
fucking
ended
dude.
up killing a dude.
Well, that's what happened.
Killed up a Chinese.
Like
yeah.
I said, anybody that does
Yeah,
that
yeah.
kind of shit to like
Yeah.
a little innocent animal will
Yeah.
absolutely do it to people if they haven't
Absolutely.
already. So it's like you just gotta nip that shit in the bud, man. Nip it in the bud.
And I've been as a hunter. As a young hunter, I've shot shit by accident. Thought it was a skunk, but no, it was a cat. That was one thing that was like the worst thing that ever happened. I was like, oh shit. I saw black and white from a
I
distance.
would never.
Through a scope, and it was a cat.
I would
It was a
never-
wild cat, though. It was.
I would never get
It
over
was a
that.
fair cat. I was like,
Sorry.
oh, I felt bad.
I would never get over that.
My dad ended up shooting a deer one time. He walked up there and realized it was a fawn, but it was so far away that the distance he couldn't tell the scale. You know, he hid that, and my dad was very experienced. So accidents do happen, but it's not the end of the world. You know, just sometimes shit happens. Those deer that we had in our patch. It's like some shit out of Predator. Predator was based on my culture, my dad's culture, army and hunting culture. It's down south here. I forgot where I was going with those. I'm fucking drunk. But those movies were based on our culture. And it was just sometimes accidents happen in it, you know. But the idea is that everything's supposed to be done sportingly. That's why I don't believe in trapping. I don't believe that's sporting. You only trap animals fucking when your family's starving. You know, that you could do it then, but I don't believe in trapping animals.
No, I don't either. That's inhumane.
It's inhumane. It puts too much stress on the animal. You go to the trap, and it's not the animal you were looking for, and it's my paw, you know. And you're like, you don't taste good. You're a bobcat, you know what I mean? Fucking, a cat's not gonna taste good. And that you put that whole bobcat through fucking 15 hours of fucking suffering trying to fucking gnaw its limb off. You know, or maybe it's a raccoon, which are friendly little creatures, you know.
You should make anybody or anything.
It's not
suffer
selective
if
enough.
You can avoid it.
It's too fucking random. So, you know, I don't believe in traps.
So, like I
unsporting.
said, well, that's why, like I said, most serial killers, thank you very much. Klaus gave us a super chat.
Yeah, trust me.
We love you guys. Oh, we love you guys.
Yeah, you do.
That's why anybody that would do anything like that to a cat, I don't even care if you kill a person, I don't think we needed to take these kind of people out. Because that's not going to end well. It never
Yeah,
does.
if you do fucked up shit to animals, especially domestic animals, you're dangerous.
Yeah, that's not going to end.
You got to go.
Yeah. Like I said, you got to nip that in the bud.
Yeah.
Because that's not normal.
Yeah, domestic animals are your children. You're supposed to
Not
kind of
normal.
take care of them. And even the ones that, like deer and fucking pigs that you've raised domestically, there's a trade involved. You're supposed to give them a nice, long, easy life. You're feeding them, all right? And then you slaughter them painlessly and quickly so you can eat them. And in the wild, they would have been eaten alive slowly by predators. That's normally what happens to them. A pack of wolves jumps on them and rips them apart. So you're sparing them of that. So I don't even care about, I agree with, farming animals. It's fine. It's an animal's job, a lot of these animals' jobs, is to be eaten eventually after they've reproduced. And in the wild, they're eaten alive. Watch what lions do to kill. It's sad. So humans spare them of that. Okay? And they got an easy life. We protect them from predators their whole lives until time for slaughter comes. And they have children, And they've been bred for that. They've called being bred for slaughter. They don't really, they're lazy. If you let a domestic cow or a go, it would die. They can't, they'd be eaten by wolves. They can't really defend themselves because they've been in captivity for so long. A pig can. They can return to the wild. They're intelligent. But they're not human either. You could slaughter a pig and then cook in front of all the other pigs. It's their mama. You could slaughter the pig and cook it. And then they're all asking for the meat. So they're not human. A human wouldn't say, "Hey, give me some of that," but a pig will.
But so he did get some jail time for the cackerels, you think? Thankfully, and also, as I said, as in these cases, it did also escalate because in 1985, he actually ran his cousin's car off the road, like he hit her car and ran her off the road, and she pulled over, and he pulled a gun on her, and said he was mad. He said because she had allegedly been spreading rumors that he was jerking off on the front lawn, which he very well might have been doing that. I don't really know. He said he didn't do it, but he was mad because he said that she was telling people that, and her baby was in the car. Now he said later, "Oh, the gun wasn't loaded. I was just trying to scare her and shit like that." I'm like, normal people don't do that. They just don't. You know what I mean? Is this guy a murderer? Don't know. He's a cat murderer for sure. I kind of feel like people that do shit like this are not good people, I will note, though, that the crime that he served 18 years in prison for, he didn't do that, okay? So I'm getting... But that doesn't mean that he didn't do this murder, though, because that's two separate things.
Yeah.
So the murder that he went to prison for, so he got jail time for pulling the gun on the cousin and all this other kind of stuff. Now, he was still out. Like, he got a 6-year sentence, but then he was on bail, like, before the trial or whatever. And so in late 1985, or mid-1985, rather, he was still on the loose, so he wasn't in jail at this time. There was a 36-year-old woman who was sexually assaulted while she was jogging on a beach on Lake Michigan. Now, the victim, whose name was Penny Bjornson, she picked Steven Avery out of a lineup, like out of a photo lineup and out of a live lineup, like when they brought him in. Now, they did find out later that he had an alibi. He was actually 40 miles away in Green Bay, and had like receipts and stuff like showing that. But because she identified him, he was charged and was ultimately convicted of rape and also of attempted murder. And so he was actually sentenced to 32 years. He filed a couple of appeals, but both of them were denied. Now, around 1995 or so, a county police detective from a different county, like, contacted Manitowoc. I think it's Manitowoc, right? Like, I don't know if any of you guys are from Wisconsin and could correct me, but it kind of looks like Manitowoc to me. So he calls the jail and he says there's an inmate at this jail in, I think it was Brown County, and said that he had committed a sexual assault like several years ago in Manitowoc County and that somebody else was in jail for it. Like, do you want to look into that? And then, so they transfer the call and everything like that, but the detective said, "Nah, we already got the guy, like, don't worry about it." And it wasn't really, like, looked into. Now, Steven Avery, while he was in jail on this rape charge from the 80s, he kept protesting that he was innocent of it. And then in 2002, actually the Innocence Project got involved, all of this other kind of stuff. So he was in prison for 18 years. And the Innocence Project came around and they did DNA testing, which obviously was not available at the time that he was originally tried. And were able to exonerate him completely because they found DNA from a completely different suspect named Gregory Allen, who had actually committed another rape later on that year, like at the same, like pretty much in the same area. And like I said, in defense of the victim, the dudes look a lot alike. Like I could see how you could kind of like, if if it was a traumatic situation, I could see how you could like mistake one from the other. That's shitty that he spent 18 years in prison for a rape that he didn't do, but that is shitty, even though he's not a good person, you know what I mean, like overall. But yeah, so they did find out that someone else had done the rape that he had done 18 years for. So they did actually let him go. So he was released in September of 2003. His wife had divorced him during that time. His family had abandoned him, blah, blah, blah. Now, because of the wrongful conviction, which was a wrongful conviction, he got a lot of attention. Like a lot of laws were passed, like ensuring that wouldn't happen again and blah, blah, blah. There was even like a law named after him. Well, it was named after him until he got accused of the Teresa Halbach murder, after which they just gave it a generic name because they didn't want to associate it with them anymore. Now, prior to the Teresa Halbach murder, as I mentioned earlier, he had filed a civil lawsuit against the county for $36 million because of the wrongful conviction. And it was this that he was using as his defense after the murder happened, and he got charged with that he's saying, well, the police were trying to frame me because they didn't want to pay the $36 million because they thought they were going to lose, right? And he was arguing, too, that the police didn't look into any other suspects. Like, Teresa had a ex-boyfriend. Like, they never questioned him. Although I don't even think he was around that area. I don't even know if he was around that area. And shit like that. And that maybe the cops were, planting evidence. Another thing that I've heard, too, is that Steven Avery's other nephew, who I mentioned earlier, Bobby Dassey, and Dassey's stepfather, his name was Scott Tacklith, I think is how you pronounce his last name, that they were the ones that actually raped and murdered Teresa Halbach, and then they pinned it on Steven Avery because they knew that it would be easy to do and that he'd already been in and out of prison for various things, and so like they could just pin it on him. Like I said, not impossible, but I don't know. It does seem to me that the arguments of a frame-up, I kind of feel like it's more along the lines of, and a couple of his like one of his ex-girlfriends said this too, that it's like he was so angry that a woman had sent him to prison for 18 years for some shit he didn't do, which he didn't do, that he was in prison all that time and like all that resentment built up. And when he got out, he figured, I'm just going to do this shit for real, or he's going to punish somebody. Now, he knew Teresa Halbach vaguely. Like I said, she'd been out there before, like taking pictures for Auto Trader. And she said that she'd felt creeped out by him, and that he had he would come to the door like just in a towel and stuff like that. Like just shit like that, you know what I mean? Which is creepy.
Tanya's saying bye. She got to go to sleep.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we got to go.
It's like 5 o'clock in the morning in Norway.
Holy crap. You guys like fucking...
Yeah.
Klaus said he got $37 million. I don't think he ever got $36 million. He was suing for that. That's the thing. You can sue for whatever amount you want. Are you going to get that? Probably not. Most of the time. Oh, no, even if you get the settlement, like if the person doesn't have it, they can't make them give it to you.
I get fucking... They're talking on 2 different fucking... accounts, and I thought she lived in a different location, but no, fucking Klaus says, no, we're at the same location. Okay, then she's gone then.
Well, yeah, it might just be kind of a situation where
they're on their own. Each one's on their own
each
phone.
on their own phone or whatever.
Yeah, okay,
That's not weird.
All right, okay.
That's not weird.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
She was acting like she was in another location.
No.
Okay.
Like I said, you might. A lot of people do that. A lot of people just like you're on your phone over here and you're on your phone over there. I leave my phone in my office because I don't want to fuck with it. I look at screens all day. I don't want to look at screens all night too.
No, she says she's definitely not beside Klaus. But then she goes, I'm confused. I'm confused.
Yeah. But yeah, so so the fact that one, she wasn't really seen again after her appointment at the Avery's place. The fact that his blood was found in her car, her keys were found in his room. There was that whole bullet thing, which that might have been planted. I don't know. Like I said, if the police did plant some stuff, which maybe they did, that doesn't necessarily mean they didn't do it, though. That's, like I said, those are two separate arguments. So I'm not saying that the police didn't do some sketchy shit in this situation, because they very well may have. But that doesn't mean that he didn't do it. The only other thing, I don't think that the cops framed him for this because of the lawsuit. That doesn't seem like enough of a motive to me. If anything, if he was framed, which I'm not sure I believe, it might have just been another person, like another relative on that property. Like he was saying with his nephew. Like, yeah, I could see maybe something like that happening. And like, hey, we're going to pin it on Uncle Steve over here because everybody kind of knows he's already, like, whatever. So I could see something like that happening more likely than the cops doing it. But I'm still not sure. To me, it seems like... There was a weird thing, too. I was watching another show about this. And she was playing a lot of the original phone calls and kind of reading a lot of the original shit. And she's like, one thing that doesn't get brought up a lot is that somebody that was I don't remember what the dude's name was, but he was out doing like geocaching, if you know what that is, where you have an app and it has like coordinates and like people go out and hide stuff, like little treasures and stuff, and then like you go and find it. It's like a fun little treasure hunt type situation. And this guy was out doing that in this area, and he found a bunch of blood. And, like, he didn't think about it at the time, like, because he just thought, oh, maybe somebody gutted a deer or something like that. But then, like, after he found out about the missing girl, like, and then later they said she'd been murdered and stuff, he's like, oh, maybe that had something to do with it, and then he called the cops. So I heard the call, and they said, yeah, we're going to come out there and look at it, but I don't know if they ever did, because I don't think there was any follow-up. So that very well might have been the crime scene, because there was no blood in the dude's house. So I don't think she was killed in there, obviously. So that's why I'm not sure I entirely believe the nephew, Brendan's story either, that he saw her in his house, like raping her or whatever. If he did do something to her, I think it didn't happen in the house. I think it happened someplace else, because they didn't find... I mean, anytime you do a murder in your house, even if you clean the shit, they're going to find something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They got luminol and all that kind of shit. We watch all the true crime shows, You can't clean it completely. They're going to find it. And they didn't really...
find spooge all over that shit.
Yeah, they didn't find anything.
Kind of weird spooge.
Which says to me that... I'm not saying that says he didn't do it. I'm just saying I don't think he did it in the house.
Okay.
I think it happened someplace else. Because some people... I heard some witness testimony that they had seen her car, like, out by this quarry or whatever. And so it's possible that he could have maybe forced her into the car and they took her out of the quarry and killed her out there, like, and then threw her in the burn pit, rather than doing it in the house. Because they didn't really find a lot of evidence in the house. But that doesn't mean he didn't do it. That just means he took her someplace else, I think. And maybe he wasn't even the only person involved. Like, they're saying, yeah, the cousin was involved, or his nephew or whatever, but I don't know. I kind of feel like maybe it was the other nephew. I don't know. Like I said, I wasn't there. Him and the kind of slow nephew are both still in prison. And honestly, I think they probably did. I don't think he was set up. I really don't. Like I said, if you see Making a Murderer on Netflix, they do kind of make it seem like, oh, poor guy. you know, he got wrongfully convicted again. But they left a lot of stuff. Which, like, and I couldn't even get into all of it because it's hugely complicated, and it's getting kind of late, and I'm getting kind of inebriated.
Yeah,
but
we got all that fucking stew waiting.
Yeah, I know we got to eat all that.
I can still smell it. Can you smell it? It smells so good.
Yeah. So, but I'm just from everything that I've read about the case, I think they probably got the right guy. I don't think he was set up. I don't think he was framed. You know. Did the cops plant some shit? Maybe, but that doesn't mean that he didn't do it. I kind of feel like he probably did do it. I'm not as sure about this one as I am about the first one. That first guy, the Martha Moxley case, I'm 99% sure that guy did that because I can't really see of any other scenario. This one I'm slightly less sure, but I still think he probably did it. And I know there's a huge thing about it where a lot of people think he's innocent and he got railroaded again, but I'm not really sure if that's the case. And like I said, he's not really a good dude regardless. You know, so I don't feel as bad about it.
I was about so drunk during the whole thing. I was talking to the crowd in there, fucking. But no, fucking. They get the dude in this kind of case.
Yeah, like I said, I think some people do get framed, but I think it's rare.
It's very rare to get framed.
It's difficult, and
it takes a huge group of people to frame you.
Yeah, and
that's
like,
the thing.
Yeah, you need a lot of people to go along with it, and you usually can't get that many people to go along with something like that without somebody blabbing, you know? So, I mean, everybody would have really had to hate this dude. It's like, and a lot of people would have had to be involved, and I'm just not buying it. It just seems like a reach. It's not impossible, it just seems like a reach, you know what I mean?
All right, so next time you guys will see us will be Friday.
On Halloween. The very best day of the year.
That's right. We'll both be in costume. Yeah. I'll be doing the new fucking oh shit, man, I'm drunk, man. I can't remember.
Bane.
Bane, yeah, I'm doing the new Bane.
He forgot what
I got a brand new Bane costume, and she's gonna do Alex. Gender swapped Alex from Clockwork Orange is sexy too. It's gonna be really good.
I think it's gonna look really good.
It's gonna be real sexy.
I've put some of it on, but not the whole ensemble. Yeah. But I put most of it.
She even made the little eyeball cuff links and everything. And then we're gonna do. I got the new Venom injector with the glowing fucking green steroid injection kit and a new mask. I got a new mask from Mexico. A real luchador. It's a leather. Fucking Bane luchador mask, fucking, and shit was custom. It was $100. It's fucking nice.
It looks nice though.
Yeah, and fucking, I got the whole combat rig and everything. It's a new one. It's not the movie Bane. It's the animated graphic novel Bane.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are like
$100 just for the mask. My whole entire costume was $130.
I got a very rare mask from a Mexican luchador company that makes luchador fucking mask. Got a real lucha mask, professional, and it's gonna have the boots, knee protection, fucking combat pants, fucking injector kit. It's gonna go into my arm. It's gonna look real good. I can't do the show in mask the whole time though, because I probably want to drink.
Because it'll just be like,
I'll be like,
and then you'd be drinking like that.
Yeah, the mask is neoprene and leather.
That would be funny.
Yeah.
You gotta wear it when we get to the party though. After.
Oh yeah, I'm having the party. Fucking, I'm pulling up and drinking out of it. I wish I had a hole somehow where I could drink my drink and not take the mask off when I get.
You could use the straw, but you'd still have to.
It's not gonna work out.
He's trying to suck through this mask of the straw.
But I'm gonna be totally roided out, fucking looking big and shit. Fucking, it's gonna be good.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be fun.
Yeah,
it's gonna be fun. We're gonna
because Bane is a steroid character.
Well, yeah,
that's his superpower. We're being extremely intelligent and on fucking.
You're built like Tom. You have a limited number of Halloween costumes.
A limited number, yeah. Limited number. I ought to know what I was thinking. Next year, I ought to do a gender swap.
Yeah.
Like the male version of Spider-Gwen.
Ooh, that would be cool.
Wouldn't that be cool?
That would be
male
really
Spider-Gwen.
cool.
And Spider-Gwen was the gender swap Spider-Man.
Yeah. So
she wore black, white, and pink.
Gender swap inception.
Gender swapping 3 times. A male Spider-Gwen.
That's pretty. You could do like third sex Spider-Gwen.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Maybe a male Wonder Woman.
Oh, that would be good too.
Yeah. That'd be good.
Oh, you should totally do that.
Male Wonder Woman. I got the boobs for it.
You should. I know. You should write that down. That'd be awesome.
Male Wonder Woman.
You had the lasso.
Put a wig on and shit.
That'd be so cool.
The Greek-looking wig.
That'd be so cool.
Armored fucking skirt and shit.
Then I'd have to be like some. Maybe I could be a She-Hulk or something.
She-Hulk, yeah. Yeah. We'll put a couple more pounds on you upside to do She-Hulk.
I figured,
She-Hulk, you got to be running it out almost to male proportions.
I figured you'd say I would.
You got to be like male proportions to do She-Hulk. I would do...
Oh, Tammy says you should do a male Poison Ivy.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be good too. Because I've thought about doing Poison Ivy a couple times.
Maybe.
But I never got around to it.
Because, you see, it's always the girls that are gender swapping. With their costumes.
Well, yeah, because dudes
and
get
it's
all
like porn fucking about
weird about it.
Yeah, I'm not weird about it. I'll do a fucking male gender swap. Do like a.
It's like everyone will think I'm gay.
Like a, yeah. Like what was it cool? Like a male version of what would be a good character? Male Princess Leia. That's not that quite good enough. What would be a good character?
It's not distinctive.
It's not distinctive enough. It had to be like
I don't know. I'd have to think about it more.
Yeah, I had to find a good female character to like flip it to male.
That would be cool. I like your Wonder Woman.
Spider-Gwen and Wonder Woman would be a good one.
Those are good ideas actually.
Yeah, male Wonder Woman.
But yeah, we'll see. And like I said, I mean, doing Alex from A Clockwork Orange, I don't even really think I don't even think of it as a gender swap because, I mean, that outfit is just so genderless.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of sexied it up a little bit, but it's still like I'm still keeping it pretty close to what his actual outfit looked like. You
see, a male Wonder Woman could work because the men for the Greek era wore that same basic armor. You know what I mean? So you'd have that. They didn't have pants in the Greek era.
So it's not. So it's not really that weird.
Yeah, you just end up looking like a gladiator.
Yeah.
You know. But it would be in the Wonder Woman color with a long black wig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that would look cool, actually.
Yeah, maybe.
Need a lasso and the armband.
The armband. Well, she had a sword too, didn't she?
Did she have a sword?
I thought she might have had a sword. No, it was just a lasso of truth.
I'm not a big, huge superhero connoisseur. Like I said, I'm more a horror movie person. Ask me whatever you want about horror movies, and I probably know, but superheroes, I'm just very spotty, my knowledge. All right, so we're going to wrap it up for this evening. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. Glad we got through both cases, and, you know, I didn't even leave most stuff out. Like I said, I kind of just skimmed the surface. You can do a deep dive on it if you want to. There's a lot of other stuff out there about both of these cases, you know, kind of coming at it from both sides.
Tammy came go male Harley Quinn.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, male Harley Quinn.
See, I never wanted to do Harley Quinn because it's like especially after that movie came out.
I could work something. I think I could
every
do something.
fucking chick at the bar, like not so much. We're like, ooh,
male
Harley Quinn.
I think I could do it.
Because
I could make one.
I hate doing fucking costumes that everybody's
doing.
It
would be a Harlequin outfit, and most Harlequins were males.
True.
So it would have to be like in her colors, and I might even be able to do it with the beard.
And then I could be a girl Joker.
Here's one that would be easy for me to do right off the fucking bat. Is just Ming, Emperor Ming.
We've talked about you doing Ming for a long time.
No problem. I just need to make that fucking.
Because we wanted to do.
I got the beard and I got the hat.
We talked about for a long time.
It's like sexy Ming.
Yeah.
Fucking
him being Ming and
arms.
I was gonna do General Kala from Flash Gordon.
Yeah, that'd be good too. Kala.
But I looked into it. I'm like, man, that would be super expensive.
It's an expensive costume.
But and you'd have to make it because
nobody sells it.
Because nobody sells that.
Yeah.
Like her headpiece and all this other kind of stuff, which is really distinctive.
Yeah. And I wanted to do Clytus, but with the way I look now, doing Clytus would be kind of waste of a bald head and a beard.
True.
Because I'm already set up for fucking Ming.
Yeah.
And Ming had some badass the American movie. Fucking Dino De Laurentiis fucking Ming with fucking from what was his name? Oh shit.
Well, Flash Gordon.
Yeah. But I'm talking. What's that actor's name? Fucking guy from
Max von Sydow.
Max von Sydow. Yeah, Max von Sydow's fucking Ming is the one I would. He had a lot of cool costumes in the movie, and I would probably do one of his costumes. Maybe not the one with the big collar.
I mean, that's kind
Maybe
of
the
a
one
lot.
where he was watching his fucking daughter being tortured.
And like,
Yeah, in the black out. Yeah,
Very
it was
nice.
a black outfit. That's pretty cool. He's just getting off on the fact BDSM and his daughter's getting tortured by the boar worms, and he's fucking drinking. Yeah. Proceed with the torture, Cletus. Yeah, so kinky shit,
She
bro.
was into it too.
Kinky fucking shit.
All right.
Yeah. Go ahead and shut it down.
Thank you. Finally. All right. So yeah,
She wants to go. We'll get
I know.
something
It's
to
like,
eat.
oh, I
We'll
gotta
get
pee.
something to eat, yeah.
I gotta pee, and I'm hungry. We gotta get up early tomorrow.
Yeah.
Gotta go to Animal Kingdom. Gotta see all the
Yeah,
animals. So yeah, so that's what we'll talk about on Friday night because
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's gonna be fun. All right. So like I said, hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. Have a good day tomorrow, and we will be back on Friday night for our little Sidetracks Halloween special with our little costumes and stuff. So hopefully you guys can join us for Halloween night. It'll be super fun, and we will see you guys again on Friday night.